Welcome to another episode of Legends and Lessons podcast. We are here with Rafael Babadzhanov. Thank you so much for coming on, and let the audience know a little bit about you and give yourself a little intro so they know who we're talking to.
Mark, first of all, thank you for having me. This is badass. You get to dig deep down and personal in some different people. So, um, uh, thank you for your hospitality and for the Swiss cheese. It was delicious. Um, a little bit about myself. God, it's a tough question. Moved to the States from the former Soviet Union when I was 3 years old. I was born in Uzbekistan, um, part of the former Soviet Union. Moved to New York, spent 10 years in New York. No, not 10 years. I lied. 7 years in New York. Moved to Texas, and 25 years later, ish, here I am. Um, uh, I'm a mixed breed of like Jewish, Christian, Russian, Ukrainian, a little bit of Armenian. Like it's like a Soviet orgy. So
Okay.
if you take the former Soviet Union,
You are the delegate from
and
there.
and grandma, my grandpa, grandpa spec game with grandma over here, and then things like that happen, and then before you know it, you look at your blood type, and it's like you don't even have a blood type. It's just the mud of the former Soviet Union,
Okay.
and anyway, enough about that. Um, Lived in Texas, three kids, three beautiful kids, crazy dog, lovely wife, um, blessed, uh, good friends. Just it's probably the 30 second, the most 30 second version I could give you.
Nice.
But yeah, it's it's kind of crazy. You think about um, where you come from, and you kind of win a lottery. So in '91, when the Soviet Union was collapsing, um, a lot of people that wanted to come to the U.S., they couldn't make it, and it's kind of like a lottery system. So um, you win the lottery, and you think about, what if that didn't happen? Where would you be right now? What kind of opportunities would you have right now? Maybe I wouldn't be sitting here today. So um, the life chose me, I guess.
I like it.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Well, tell me this a little bit because this is something when we were having dinner, the dinner a couple weeks ago. We were talking a little bit about real estate. Tell the audience a little bit about where you're at in the real estate world because I have a couple of cool questions that I think a lot of people would love to hear your input on. But just a 10-second background on
12 years ago, I started a real estate company with a very dear friend of mine. Um, and we do residential, commercial real estate. People buy, sell, lease, property management. I'm the broker, owner of the firm, so we've got about 30 agents. We also recently started a property management company. I've got my own flips. I flip houses when the opportunity arises, um, and I have rentals as well. I've got a few rentals, so anything real estate related, as far as money making goes, I'll take advantage of it.
okay. Sweet. And was that by accident that you got into that, or did you always know you wanted have you always liked real
I
estate?
wanted to get into it. So honestly, I went to a seminar when I was 17 years old.
Hmm.
There was all these like real estate Mongols there, just giants. And I mean, I'm 17. I don't even know what I want to do with my life. I don't
Mhm.
know anything about anything. I'm working for like, I think it was $6 an hour at a pizza joint, just about to graduate high school, or maybe I graduated high school. Um, and then I saw these guys there, man. They had these nice suits, even though I hate wearing suits, these cool watches, and it's not even about that, but they presented themselves with so much confidence, and man, they they were just, they seemed happy. I guess they were making a shit ton of money, but they seemed just so enthusiastic and happy about it. I've never seen anybody like that before, and I've always been fascinated about real estate because I mean everything is real estate. I mean we're sitting in real estate right now.
Mhm.
Your apartment. I mean some big rich real estate investor woke up one morning and said, "Hey guys, let's gather 10 more investors, get $30 million together, and go build this thing." That's real estate.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, we're talking about from the simplest $10,000 lot in the boondocks to this to a $1 billion project in like Legacy West, for example. It's all part of the same industry. You're kind of tied to it in one way or another. So I was just fascinated by the depth of it, by the diversity of it,
Okay.
and I wanted to get into it. But then in 2007, 2008, that's when the market crashed. So my mom, my parents, everybody was like, "What are you doing? Go get a job.
Yeah.
Go get your college degree." I was going to college.
Okay.
Go get a college degree. Go get a regular job with insurance. And what are you doing chasing real estate? It's not going to work out. Look, check the news. So I listened to them, and then a few years later, naturally, kind of just sucked me back in. They pulled me up, or they in The Sopranos. What do they say? Took me up, but they pulled me back in.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anyway, it was like a calling. It was something I always wanted to do.
Okay. Yeah. So then here you are. And like you said, 12 years, right? Is it officially since you
Uh,
started your company?
12 years, yeah, 12
Yeah.
years.
Okay. But I mean, obviously you've been in the game longer than that, but that's when you first started the company. So that's
12
awesome.
years, yeah, 12, 13 years.
That's awesome.
So
Okay.
I got in and I started with Keller Williams, great company. I'm not going to say anything bad, but I couldn't drink the Kool-Aid. I mean, it was just too fluffy,
You corporate.
too corporate. I don't want to say too corporate, but I just don't want to. I never wanted an answer to a broker. I kind of wanted to do my own thing.
Your own. Yeah, of course.
I never liked that dragon breathing down my neck, making me fill in all these documents before I get paid.
Mhm.
I just kind of want to get to the point. So,
Yeah, I gotcha.
so luckily, I was blessed enough to be around the right people to start my own company, and we did it.
I love it.
Yeah.
Okay. What would you say is one of the biggest mistakes that you see first time home buyers making?
The biggest mistake the majority of home buyers make is they chase the house. They don't chase the investment. Um, I see a 25-year-old couple and, they'll go look at whatever, 25, 30, doesn't matter the age, but it's somebody's first house. Um, they look at, what they look at what's in front of them, which is important, but they don't look at what's going to happen in the next 10 years, 20 years. So I always ask my clients, like, is this a 2-year plan, 5-year plan, 10-year plan, 20-year plan, 30-year plan? Are you wanting to keep this house as an investment, as a cash flow and asset? And if the answer is yes, then the criteria has to change. You can't just look for a flashy house. You want everything brand new. I mean, you can. Maybe you'll find it to work out that way. But a lot of people, they look at the value of the house, but they never look at the value of the land that the house is on. So I always really try to tell my clients, like, look further than just the house. Yeah, the house is important. It's got to look nice. It's got to be pretty. But shit, you can change the floors. You can paint the walls. You can change the lights. If the foundation is screwed up, you can fix the foundation. You can change the windows. Yeah, it costs money. But if you get it at the right price, I mean, it's all things that can get adjusted. They could get fixed. I mean, but in 5 years, in 10 years, in 20 years, that house that had old windows, for example, maybe quadrupled in value. But this house that has these brand new windows, these nicely painted walls, maybe it only did a 2x. Maybe not. I mean, I don't know. But the biggest mistake, if I can kind of break it down, is people that look at the value of real estate just based on the actual structure, not on the land it's sitting on. And I feel that the most important value in real estate is, I mean, don't get a shit show of a property. I mean, obviously that's not smart, but the most important uh, value is the land it's sitting on. They don't make any more land. Look at Highland Park. Highland Park right now, I mean, just a piece of land is probably the minimum quarter-acre lot is probably $1.5 million.
Wow.
You know, and I mean, you might have to fact check that. I mean, it could be a little more, it could be a little less, but I'm sure it's close enough just for a typical quarter acre. I mean, excuse me, 15 years ago, right? 20 years ago, that number was substantially less, maybe twice less, 3 times less. But you go to North Dallas, you go to like Midway and Northwest Highway, for example, like that area. Same thing, just a piece of land there is worth stupid money, just the land alone. You could have a crack house there, but it doesn't matter. The land alone is worth more than any house you're going to find in the northern part of the Metroplex.
Mm.
So, you know,
So buy the land and not just the
so
house.
I mean, you know, if you have a wife, kids, a family, dogs, whatever, animals, doesn't matter, that you know you got to keep comfortable. Obviously, don't buy a crack house and then go take your kids to live there. But I'm saying try to, if this is a 2-year plan, you know, whatever, I get it. Maybe you're going to move out of the country and live somewhere else. But um, if really, if you're doing this, it really shouldn't be a 2. If you're young, I mean, I get it. If you're 65, I mean, you know, it's 70, you know, it's one outlook on it. If you're 25, 35, and you're buying some real estate, you know, look at it as far as a 10, 15, 20-year plan. Which property will most likely appreciate in the next 10 to 15 years? And it has nothing to do with the house. The house is going to get jacked up no matter what you do. You know, you rent it out eventually. There's going to be 3 kids. They're going to destroy the house. That's what they do. That's what kids do. They destroy houses. But the land, you know, what is the land value going to do? That's where the investment's at. So to answer your question, the majority of first-time home buyers, I don't want to say it's a mistake, but something that they naturally ignore is just not paying attention to what possibly is going to happen in the next 10 years and not focusing on the land value of their investment.
So kind of location, location, location.
100% it's location, location,
Mm.
location. 100%.
Interesting. Okay. And I kind of on the same lines, I remember when we were having dinner, you were explaining beautifully that the devil is in the details, like when it comes to not buying the home, but actually selling it, people that want to get their house on the market and sold as quickly as possible. What are like maybe one or two
Was it the
little...
dinner where we talked about the devils or the devils in the details? We've had a lot of dinners before. But
Yes, the devil in the
the devil's in the
details
details. Okay.
of selling. You were mentioning all the little things, you know, a little pot of flour out front.
I
you know.
showed some houses today. You know, I had a client right before. It was one of my best friends' girlfriend, and I was helping, you know, her buy an investment for her family. And some of these houses I looked at, they're flips. They're obvious that they're flips. If you do a flip, you can't make it look like a freaking flip. That's just stupid.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you can't make a flip look like a flip because uh, people see right through that.
It looks
But
just like a girl with makeup that just
mean,
isn't well done. You just kind of
yeah,
tell.
you know, you walk to the front lawn and you know you see a spider web, you know, right there in the corner. There's no flowers there. The grass isn't cut. You know, you open the door, and number one, the windows. You know, they pimp this house. They do all these. They spend all this money making this house nice, but then they leave the windows. It's like a 1980s house. They got brand new this, brand new that, and the windows are still original.
Mm.
What the hell are you doing? You know, just finish the damn job. Like, finish the job. If you're gonna do all of this, don't be a cheap ass. Put in new windows.
Mm.
Put in new goddamn windows. It's not that hard.
Okay.
You know, just it's and the windows is not a little detail. I think that's a big detail. But you know, clean the dust, do the landscaping, put some freaking flowers or add some color. To put in new windows. You know, you walk inside the house and then you start noticing some smells. You know, put in some air fresheners.
Mm-hmm.
You know, don't try to hide anything, but you've gotta apply to all the human senses.
That makes sense.
You gotta apply to all the human senses. You know, I went to look at a flip today, and I look at the bathroom, for example. They did the vanities, they did the floors, but the tub was the 1980s tub, like the yellow nasty tub. You know, that's like, come on, just finish it, finish the job.
Yeah.
You know, you go out there, they redo all the lights, they do all these nice things, and then the light fixture, like you know, the clickers, they're all yellow, they're nasty, they're just old clickers. I'm like, it costs $2.
Yeah.
It costs $2. Like, if it was me, out of principle, you know, I would look at it, I would be like, it's just cheap work.
Yeah.
It's lazy, it's cheap. You know, so
all those little things.
All those little things, you know, they paint a big picture, and the big picture is, did the person that was either living in the house or flipping the house or whatever, did they give a shit? You know, did they go the extra mile? And if they didn't go the extra mile on the little things, that means they sure as hell didn't go the extra mile on the big things.
That's true.
So it paints a bigger picture. the little devil in the details, it paints a bigger picture than you could even imagine. It really does.
Mm.
So
And which makes perfect sense because I mean, you think of like a car, and my car is getting wrapped right now, and I'm just thinking, you go to buy a used
hold on,
car,
so
and
you're doing the rap?
it's gonna be done tomorrow.
Is it the matte?
Matte black,
The map, my man, my man.
Batman looking car,
It feels good being in that Benz after.
bro. It's gonna be. I'm
Your
really excited.
Your stallion.
Yes,
I told you the stallion.
yeah, he is. You are the reason that I even got that car.
I'm the
basically.
sole reason. I mean, I can't be the only.
I mean, it
reason.
was like
I influenced it.
hour conversation, and I was just like, you know what? That was the convo I
I
needed.
talk a lot about cars, don't I? I mean, I'm a car junkie. I know.
Yeah,
I'm a car junkie.
that was a convo I needed to tip me over the edge. I've been thinking about it for a long time, but that definitely. But yeah, so I'm thinking about it as like a home, like a used car. You know, if you're going to buy a used car and it has a nice wrap and it has this tuned under the engine and the windows are tinted and it has that and it has, but then the rims are scuffed up or the tires are like old and like it just you can just kind of tell that it's not.
You can go. You could go buy a freaking Mercedes Benz or whatever. You have a beautiful Mercedes, but you could go buy any kind of luxury car. And then it's perfect, right? It's clean, it's perfect. But then let's say it's got two of the rims are Mercedes rims, but let's say the back rims are like Toyota Corolla rims. You're gonna look at that and go, what the fuck is this?
Like finish the job.
You're
just
gonna be like,
clean it up,
and I look at these houses, I look at these investors that drop tons of money. You know, they'll do all this work and they won't even check the plumbing. They won't even check the plumbing. Like, how do you put in floors in a house, do foundation work, but not check the fucking plumbing? You've got to be a retard not to do that. You've got to, I mean, it's logic. Same thing with a car. You know, you go buy a nice car, you know, the front tires or wheels are nice, and the back are like, you know, you got a Toyota Corolla tires, rims. The front's like a AMG Mercedes. Somebody's going to come up there and going to be like, all right,
something ain't right. Yeah.
what's going on here? Like, why does this look like this?
Yeah. Yeah.
Finish the job.
So okay, yeah. So first time home sellers, not even first time home sellers. If you're selling your home and you want it to get off the MLS fast, devil's in the details. Get the light fixtures right. Get the little.
Just go take it all the way.
Get the cobwebs down. Put some flowers
cobwebs
out.
down. Get
Little
it down,
things.
get it
It's
down.
true because if I'm buying, those little things make a big difference. Like you said, even smell. It's a big one. I don't remember if I bought a house that I walked in and they had air fresheners in there, but that would make a big difference.
Lavender sells.
Ooh.
Anytime, and I'm
Lavender
telling you, anybody that wants to sell a house, throw lavender in there. You throw lavender in there, that son of a bitch sells real fast. Really fast. I don't know why. Every time I buy a house, it's got lavender in it. I don't know. It's just maybe
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
It's a good house, but it's always got lavender in it.
It makes sense. So tell me, you personally, when you're making an investment, how do you evaluate whether it's a good investment for you? Because of course, like, you know, residential and commercial are definitely different. But like, if you, Rafael, are going to go buy a house, how do you determine this is
So
good?
I bought a house about a month and a half ago for another rental, and I looked at the little details. For example, if the grass is dead, right, especially in a season where it's not supposed to be dead, that means that they weren't watering the grass, which means that they weren't watering the foundation, which means that there's naturally going to be maybe structural issues. Maybe not, but
Because the cement would have dried out, or what?
I mean, you got to. I mean, in Texas, it's 100 degrees in the summer. You've got to water, or your house. You know, it's not going to. You're going to need foundation work eventually. So, when I first, you know, the first 20 seconds, that's the most important. Like in the first 20 seconds, you get out of the car, you walk up towards a house. You know, what's the curb appeal look like? If it looks like shit from the beginning, maybe the inside looks like the freaking Sistine Chapel. That's great, but the outside already gave you a bad impression. So number one, the outside's got to be perfect. The trees have to be trimmed, the landscaping, the bushes, no dirt, no spider webs. The grass has to be alive, green. You see a bunch of mud, dead grass, spider webs. The inside could have been done perfectly, but you're already behind. You're already having to fight back. You're in the second quarter and you're down 20 points, right? Why? Why do that? There's no reason to do that. So I look at that as a foreshadow. Whenever somebody takes care of the little details, that tells me they take care of the big details. So, you know, I look around, you know, I go inside. I always try to listen to my gut. You know, I always kind of try to, you know, I'm not talking, I'm not talking like, you know, are there ghosts or anything like that, which could be the case, but what does your instinct tell you? Like, what do you feel? What do you smell? Like, what do you see? Did the person that left the house before they put it up for sale, did they give a shit? Um, and if it seems like they just slapped some makeup on it, just to make a
Sell it.
quick buck,
Mm-hmm.
you can. At least, I don't know. Most people can't see past that. I could see past that instantly.
Okay,
I
and that's
just
immediately a no
immediately
for you.
I could see right past that. I could see, but like this house I bought, brand new windows, every little freaking detail, everything I could look for was done. In 20 seconds, I'm like, I'm good.
Yeah,
I'm
let's,
I'm, I'm
let's
gonna
do
put
it.
an offer in.
Yeah.
So you've gotta. It's not just the big things. Honestly, the little things are more important than the big things because the little things foreshadow bigger things.
That does make sense. Yeah. Yeah, that does make sense. Like, I mean, again, I'm not even a car guy, but I'm just drawing this back to the car. You go to buy a car that looks all nice, but the rims or the tires are riding on treads, basically. Like
Yeah.
they're worn down. You're like, did they take care of the engine then? Have they changed
Probably
the oil
not.
on
Probably
time?
not.
Like that little sign could mean something
Mark,
bigger.
you and I both know that if somebody's going to drive a high horsepower car and drive their tires to the treads, they probably didn't change. They probably didn't take good care of that car.
Oh, the engine, yeah.
Because number
Yeah.
one, it's dangerous. Number one, not only are they not taking care of the car, they're putting their life in jeopardy. Because when you have a 600, 700 horsepower vehicle and you have no thread on your tires, the
You're
chance
flirting
of
with that.
you dying, from just losing control is much higher.
Mhm.
So it all ties together. And that's a very small. It's tires. It's not a big deal. You look at a you look at a supercar, or any exotic car. You when you go to the lot and you see that the tires are all the way like butt ass naked, that's gonna tell me that okay, what's going on here? That's not out of respect, out of the unwritten law book of car guys. Like you just don't sell a car with bald tires. And if you're a dealership, you don't not put new tires on the car. And if you didn't do it, that means you're behind financially. That means there's some kind of mathematical formula behind the scenes where somebody's not making enough money.
Mm-hmm.
And if somebody's not making enough money, that means you're getting fucked.
Yeah, you don't want to buy a car from that
That means you
dealership.
probably shouldn't buy the car.
Yeah,
So
makes sense.
I bought a GT3 2 years ago, and the back tires were done. They were raw.
Mm,
They were raw. The Porsche GT3 was
dang.
one of the greatest cars I've ever driven.
Yeah.
I drove it from Tennessee. I drove it back to Texas, 1,000 miles. For the record, one of the greatest drives in my life. Oh my God, that car was amazing. But that transmission was screwed up. And the tires were bald, And then I'm like, hey, I like to talk to a dealer. I'm like, come on, man, you can't sell me a car with these bootleg tires. You got to put on some new tires.
Mm-hmm.
So, you learn, you live, you learn. But anyway, the transmission was messed up. And I'm 100% sure that the previous owner knew about it.
Mm.
And got rid of the car, Luckily, we got it worked out, but
Yeah, those little things.
those little things.
Tell me this, because I've had plenty of jobs over the years, and I spent a lot of time in door to door, selling alarms, selling solar, all kinds of different things. I feel like in every career, there's probably some things that the people in that career or in that industry get maybe a bad rep for or are misunderstood for. For example, let's take the media right now is really heavy on police officers. They might get a bad rap. Even they could be a great cop, but they might get a bad rap because the media is going crazy about police officers right now. Is there anything that's a big misconception about real estate agents, real estate brokers? Anything that you feel like people have a misconception about anyone in your industry?
Yes,
like that?
a lot of people think that being a real estate agent is easy money.
Okay.
It's bullshit. It's not easy money. I mean, you've got to. Will you get a easy deal once in a while? I mean, you'll get an easy deal where the person you're dealing with, they just first house, they know what they want. You just got to do the transaction. And you don't have to give any commission back. But like I've got right now, for example, I've got maybe 20, 25 deals I'm involved in right now, either in a high level or a low level. And when you do real estate on a high level, like on a supercharged level, it's a 7-day per week hustle. 12, 13-hour days. You wake up in the morning, 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock. I mean, calls, emails, text, and you've got to constantly be catching up with it. You have deadlines. You have a bunch of things. So you've got one or two clients. I mean, yeah, I don't want to say it's easy, but it's more flexible. But when you do it on a very, very high level, um, you've got multiple just clients, obligations, stuff like that. It's literally 24/7. Even when you go to sleep at night, you're like, oh shit. I'm like,
Oh
God
my
damn it,
God.
I forgot to send this, I forgot to do that.
Yeah.
Um, it's a constant stress. I mean, um, I've got 30 agents, I've got, my own personal deals. I've got about probably 10, 12 of my own personal deals. I mean, it's not always like that. Right now, it's just, thank God it got busy.
Mhm.
Um, other agents' deals that I'm involved in, that I consult in, that I do, I coach them or we partner in these deals. So there's a lot of transactions that you're just involved in. And, without a list, I wake up in the morning, um, I get a cup of coffee, go through my morning ritual, and I sit down, and I get a piece of paper and I write my list. And it's usually, 30 things, and if I don't write that list, I'm screwed. I can't remember all these things.
Mhm.
Some of the things are important, some of the things aren't important, but um, it's just, uh, it's 7 days a week. You can't go on a vacation. I mean, you've got to plan a vacation. Me and my wife are going to go, thank God, hopefully on a cruise if everything goes good. But to go on a vacation when you do real estate on a very high level, just multiple transactions that are constantly going through your hands, you've got to plan to be away from the phone a month ahead of time,
Mm.
because the second somebody tries to call you and you can't pick up and it's an emergency, all hell
Mhm.
breaks loose.
Mm.
So
So that's the
it's
misconception,
it's
is
a
that
misconception.
it's
It's
a
not
walk in
easy.
the
It's
park.
it's not
Mm.
easy money. It goes into so much depth. Sometimes you've got to, you got divorced couples. You've got to be a marriage counselor. You got to facilitate that. You've um, got people going through foreclosure. I've got about 4 clients right now going through a foreclosure.
Mm.
And you've got to work with the banks. You've got to do it in a timely fashion. We've got lawyers that we work with, so you've got to get lawyers involved to make sure that you have enough time to make sure they don't lose their shit. Um,
Wow.
so it's so 3 dimensional. Um, there's I, could- I it's a long answer, man.
Yeah, no, but that makes sense. So it's the short answer is, yeah, that it's a misconception that I can just be join real estate and it'll be all fun. It'll be so easy to walk in the park and I'll make tons of money. It's like, if
No,
you're doing it at a high level, which is most jobs, I feel like if you're doing
yeah.
them at a high level, you don't get a lot of free time.
Most
Like
people
it's
that get their license, most people that get the real estate license, they get it, they get in, they get right back out.
really.
But if you if you really dig balls deep into the business, like I mean, you really, really like go in there and you kick ass for your clients. Um, I mean, it's not the stereotype at all. Behind the scenes, it's a complete different world.
Mm.
The agents, the people that don't give a shit, um, you know, they're not going to be in the business more than a couple of years. They're going to be in, they're going to be out.
Mm.
But if you last 10, 20 plus years, that means you've done it at a high level. It
Hmm.
means you just
Put in
know.
the hours.
You just
Yeah.
know. You just know.
Tell me this, because you've been in it, well, at least with your own company for 12 years, but in real estate in general for even longer. And technology is accelerating. It's going so fast. How has technology and like maybe the advancement of AI, how has that changed the real estate game a little bit?
And I see a lot of people use like Chat GPT for, they've got to write a demand letter. They've got to write a letter to a client. They've got to run a set of comps. I think technology has made things happen faster, but um, technology, no matter how good it is, it will never compare, excuse me, with the human approach, ever. Nothing can compare to the human approach. Like, for example, if I comp a house, um, I comp a house in Dallas, East Dallas, for example. Like, I got a client that wants to buy a house and do a teardown.
Okay.
Um, you can't have Chat GPT go on Google Maps and walk the neighborhood, walk 2 or 3 blocks away, um, from the property and figure out, it's not just what the data shows, but what do you see with your eyes? What do your human senses tell you? So I try to, I'll comp a house. I can't go to every single house I'll run analytics on, but I'll always do a little Google Map search. I'll take a little virtual walk.
Okay.
I'll look at this house and I'll go 2 or 3 blocks each direction and try to use a human approach. So technology, it's a good thing. I mean, from contracts to analytics to just many other things. But no matter what you do, the human approach, it beats all of it because, you know, there's, you might have 10 sets of data that you're going to run, and technology you can automate probably 8 out of 10 of them. But those two, there's always going to be those 1 or 2 maybe that you can't automate it. You've got to use your brain. You've got to dig. You've got to see into the future a little bit,
Gotcha.
And if you don't do it correctly, you might have somebody losing $200,000-300,000.
Mm.
So you can't. So at that kind of risk, that means you can't automate any of your deals because you never know which of your clients is going to be that one that's going to lose $100,000-200,000.
Mm-hmm.
And this is mainly for investors, but when you're buying a house for people that just want to live in it, you know, you got to tell them, are you getting ripped off or not? You can't just look at the house and, oh, it's pretty. You slap some makeup on it and it's worth X amount of money. You got to be able to tell people based on looking past, just what your eyes can conceive. Is it a good investment? Is there something else that the numbers don't even show you? So
That makes sense.
yeah,
Yeah, it's I agree with that because like I said, being in door to door, like there's a lot of people that would tell me in door to door, like, oh, there's telemarketing, there's like phone stuff, people can go on Facebook and buy stuff, which is true. Like technology has made all of that easy, but there's just something different about interacting as a person. And I felt like the sales that we would get were so much easier because I could sit there and talk to you. You can't just hang up the phone on someone face to face. Like we're
no, you
talking
can't.
right
No,
here.
yeah.
And same thing, if you want to go, you can take a Google walk virtually, and which is like a great tool, right? But it's even, like you said, more powerful when you're there in person and you can smell the cherry blossoms or you can hear the neighbor's dog barking and you can kind of get a different feel for what the
Yeah.
neighborhood is versus like
I
just
mean,
looking at a map.
I've had people not buy houses because of their neighbor's dog. It was a pain in the ass. It
Wow.
wouldn't stop barking. It wouldn't shut its mouth.
Yeah, you're like, nah.
And little things like that. You got to listen to these things.
Mm,
Real estate really, not just real estate, man. Any business. It's not the real estate. It's the people business.
yeah, that's
There's a
true.
billion people that can do the same thing that you can do, but it's about how you interact with these people. It's about, are you going to be honest with them, authentic with them? Are you going to be, can they trust you? At the end of the day, the ones that survive and don't survive are the ones that gain or don't gain people's trust. And the one stop, those people that they'll have a client, and and it's those one stop clients. They're never going to hire them again. They did such a they sold their way through it, and then once it was time, they just did a shitty job. That client will never refer them. They'll never leave them a good review. They just move on to the next person. Those people never survive. You take that client and you give them 110%. You can,
Hmm.
and that client will eventually bring you 5 more clients, and those 5 more clients will bring you 5 more clients. It's all about taking care of the people that are already in front of you. If you've got people in front of you, you shouldn't be focused on getting more people. You shouldn't be focused on getting more clients. The main focus needs to be with taking care of the clients you already have, regardless of what they pay. Whether they pay a lot or a little bit, it doesn't matter. You've got to take care of the people that you've already chosen to work with. And that's something not just real estate, a lot of businessmen don't do, which they should.
Makes sense. Tell me, has there been like I mean, there's been tons of deals. Like you said, you're currently involved in like 20 to 25 of them. Has there been any, let's say recent house, any memorable or bizarre story that whether it was like a property that you were like, wow, what the heck is this thing? Or any
Oh
funny
man,
stories or crazy houses like that?
one of my clients, I'm not going to name the address or the name. He bought a house through an auction, and it was one of those houses where creepy story. Um,
Haunted.
just haunted, just sad more
Mm.
than anything. Um, uh, some kind of husband kills his wife, kills his little kids,
Oh.
and he buys this house at the auction. And then after he buys it, figures out that holy shit, we got a triple homicide at this property.
Oh.
So he asks me to go take a look at the house. I go out there, I take a look at it. Um, and it was worse than a freaking haunted house. You go out there, the dude set the house on fire.
Mm.
So the outside didn't burn, but the inside burnt before the fire department got there. So I get on the front lawn, and the creepiest thing I've ever seen, man. There was dead rats. There's probably 150 dead rats all over the lawn. So the house was vacant probably 5 or 6 months after all this happened. So a rat family literally got on there. It was in Salina. So I get there, and there's dead rats, like just,
Oh.
straight up, like,
Dang.
like
Littering the lawn.
out there. I go inside. It's the walls are dark and black and this, and go up to the kids' rooms, and you see their I have kids. I
Yeah.
could see their they had belts, like karate belts.
Oh,
And
they didn't like clean out the house or nothing.
no, the kids' clothes were still there.
Oh,
And man, it took me.
wow.
I left. I mean, I'm an intuitive person. Like, it just after 2-3 days. I don't know. Some people they'll never get affected by it, but for me, like, it just I don't want to say it messed me up, but like, damn, how could somebody do something like this?
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, we got to sell it somehow. The guy, he didn't know.
He bought it as a flip it and sell it,
Bought it at an
or
auction.
but was he gonna flip
He-
it, or what was he gonna do?
He's gonna flip it. He didn't know it
Mm.
was a triple homicide house. It's a good price in Salina. Looked like a good deal, and obviously it wasn't his fault. He didn't know, but that lands on your lap, and it's like, what do you do with a house like that? There's I know people that won't even live in that house for free.
For sure.
I mean, if I told my wife, I'm like, sweetheart, let's go live there. I'll pay you $1,000 a month. She's gonna be like,
Not worth it.
fuck that.
I'll live in Motel 8. It's
Nope.
not worth
Nope.
it. Yeah.
So it's like, what am I supposed to do? Like,
Yeah.
it's kind of
Dang.
so
Yeah, no,
that's
thanks,
kind of it was just that's one of those situations, like, it messes with you. You walk into a house like that,
Yeah.
the rats,
The kids stuff
the
up
kids
there.
stuff up there. You just look there, and it just, like, good lord, like,
Yeah.
how could somebody do this?
Yeah.
It'll mess with your mind for a few days. Like,
Yeah. No, that is not fun. Well, tell me this then. What in such a wild industry as real estate? I mean, it's one of the oldest industries in the world. What is it that keeps you motivated to keep going? It's not like you run into this kind of thing every day, but like it's a very competitive industry. It's crazy
Yeah.
stuff does happen.
Man,
It takes a lot of your
everybody-
time. Like,
everybody and their dog has a real estate license, and
yeah, what keeps you motivated? What drives you?
I got kids to feed. I got 3 mouths to feed, plus a dog that's always hungry. Got to provide for my family, but at the end of the day, I got a passion for the work. I really do. I enjoy it. I think, I don't like to pat myself on the back too much. That's for other people to do. It's not for me to do. But when it comes down to it, I've done pretty good work. I've done transactions. I've been able to have a lot of miracle transactions that I'm personally proud of. So, there's a sense of achievement you get through each client, and at the end of the day, every day you're doing something different. You're always with a different person. You're always with a different property. You're not at the office just typing away at something. It's not an automated job. You've got to, and especially I do commercial real estate too. And I just there's a lot of aspects of the business, but I'm always just trying to engage into something I haven't done before. So there's always a different challenge. There's always something new to learn. There's always some
Keeps you-
kind of obstacle you've got to bypass,
Keeps you
which
intrigued.
it's not automated. Like, there's always something that just keeps you on your toes, which it keeps me coming back for more.
Nice.
I enjoy it. Sometimes I hate it, but most of the time You know, I wake up the next day, I'm like, I can't see myself doing anything else.
Mm.
That's just me.
I love it. That's a great answer. Yeah. So tell me this, and this is there. I have a couple like kind of more fun questions for you. Thanks for answering all these great questions for people that are involved in real estate, interested in real estate, want to learn more about it. Talk to me about time travel. If you could choose to travel into the future or into the past, which one would you choose, and where would you go?
Bro,
Like,
I think we talked about this before at dinner. Maybe not, I don't know, but I would go back to a land far, far away.
okay,
There were some cell phones.
okay,
I just sometimes fantasize, you know. I get out of my office, I get into my Oldsmobile, and you know, I don't have to press the button to roll the window down. I gotta, you
mm,
know, I gotta do it the old school way. I put on my cassette player, whatever it is. That's it. You're done. You're done. It's Friday night. It's 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock. You're done with work. Your day is done. You get to go home, go to your wife, you go to your kids, and you do whatever you want. Mentally, it's not just physically. Mentally, you're done. You don't have this freaking little phone always just following
always
you around
connected,
everywhere.
always going.
So if
Yeah,
I could time travel, I'd love to go into the future. Obviously love to see the innovation and all that badass shit that we're gonna be, you know, dead in 200 years. I'd love to see what's gonna happen in 200, 300, 500 years. I mean, it's it's probably stuff that we see in sci-fi movies, you know. But I think it'd be kind of cool to just go back to like the 1980s, the early 90s. You get to get off work like they did it back in the old school days. And, you know, you have your fax machine, you got your voicemail, you got your office, and you get in your car and you're freaking done.
you're
You get
free.
to go home, your wife, your kids run up to your dog, and there's no phone that you have to like put on the counter, and then it keeps ringing and ringing. You're over there, family dinner, and then, you know, every 5 seconds, you know, you get home at 6 o'clock, from 6 to 9, you know, work being over, it's bullshit. It's not over. It's just beginning.
Mm,
It's even worse than it was before because that's when everyone else gets off work.
that's true.
And
Here come
so
all the emails and the
this whole
calls and
concept of you're off work, I mean, you know, so I guess to answer the question in the simplest form is when the phone had a cord. It was kind of the phone had shackles, right? Now we have shackles, which is the phone.
that's deep.
It is deep.
Yeah,
That's
but that
probably
the blessing and a curse. But that is it is 100%. And I'm blessed. I'm 32. I'm blessed enough to be young, but old enough to remember the days. Like I remember when there was the Walkmans, and then the CD was a crazy new thing, and then MP3 was a crazy new thing, and then an iPod, and then this is, and
and
now to where we are today,
you
right?
you go to family dinner, like you go to a restaurant, you go to like, you know, we went to Tex Roadhouse recently, and you see a family, you know, mom, dad, a bunch of kids, and you look, you just kind of observe just for a split second. Everybody's on their phone. Nobody's really engaging with each other. You know, you go hang out with your friends. Um, you know, everyone's on their phone, and I'm not blaming them. It's not like they're bad friends. It's not like they're doing something wrong. That's just the way it is. It is what it is. It is what it is. There's nothing you can do about it. There's
True.
nothing you or anybody could do about it. We've officially been we've been hooked. We've been cooked.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and it's a good thing. The phones are a good thing. I'm not. You know, I paid my bills today. I transferred money. I checked the weather. I checked my emails. I mean, I did all sorts of shit on my phone. But at the end of the day, the phone, the hardest thing, man, you get home. It's when you get home at 5 o'clock, at 6 o'clock. You know, it's when you are trying to be that
Decompressing.
decompress. That thing just has you by the balls. It's like
It never leaves.
especially when you're in business, it just never leaves you alone. And the expectation, the deeper, the biggest problem too, is due to the cell phone, due to this advanced technology in the business world, whether it's real estate or any other business. In the business world, the expectation of you to always be available due to the cell phone, because people know that you've got that
That
cell
you're
phone
gonna
by
see
your
it.
side.
Yeah.
The expectation of different industries to have you at your service at their service. I'm sorry.
Whenever
Um,
they need you.
Literally 7 days a week at 10 o'clock at night. Their expectation, they're just sick, unrealistic expectation. That's what makes it the hardest because
Mm.
that phone has caused it.
That's 100% true. I know. I mean, business, I've seen it in, yeah, it can be anything from a family group chat to dating life. Like if somebody messages you at 5 p.m. today and you respond at 10 a.m. tomorrow, they're going to be like, what, did you die? Like you couldn't respond to me? And you're like,
Yeah.
dude, I have a life too. Like it's not like I'm always trying to, but they know that it's with you. So they expect you to
I
respond.
had this agent send me some kind of text at 10:45, and I didn't reply till it was 10:30. It was Saturday night, and it was on a Sunday, and I didn't reply until 11:30. And she gave me a little bit of an earful. Like, if you would have replied, I'm like, bitch, it's 10:30 on a Saturday night.
Yeah.
Like, what?
I have other
Like,
things.
I'm like, are you freaking kidding me right now?
Yeah.
Are you even slightly complaining to me right now?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
she was sweet about it. She was nice about it. But in the back of my mind, I'm like, come on, you gotta be kidding me.
Yeah.
It's
yeah.
the weekend.
Yeah. Yeah. It's true. That is actually really,
I-
those were golden days when, like
I
you said,
mean,
the phone had a cord. Even if the family phone is over there, even if you wanted to talk in your room, you couldn't because there's no, like, it's like,
dude,
it kind of was
I would do,
compartmentalized.
honestly, brother, I would do anything to go back 20 years for a week. Like me and my wife are about to go on a cruise. You know what the most exciting part of that cruise is going to be?
Disconnected.
It's not the cruise. It's not the ship. I don't give a shit about the ship. This greatest, biggest ship of all time, in the middle of the ocean, Bahamas, other things. I'm excited about that, but that's not the most exciting thing about the fucking vacation. It's the fact that my phone's gonna be off. In my mind, the most exciting thing is that I'm not gonna have a cell phone.
Yeah.
It doesn't make any sense. I'm not supposed to think like that. But in my mind, it's like, that's exciting to me.
Yeah.
I know we've reached that limit. We've reached that day and age where not having a cell phone is more exciting than going to the freaking Bahamas.
That's crazy, actually.
Yeah.
That is well, it brings up a good point. There's a couple of vacations that I've taken in the last year, 2 years overseas, all of them. I mean, I was in the Philippines here about a week and a half ago, and
Yeah, you were.
I mean, just
How was that, by the way?
amazing. Philippines is great. I recommend it. Most of the people there speak better English than we do. Food is cheap. Everything there is super, super cheap. They have, beautiful scenery, fresh food, like fruits and seafood and all of that. Great experience. Philippines is awesome.
Question: do you think people are happier living in the Philippines than they are living in the?
You know what's crazy is
say Dallas, for example, like where we are right now.
what's crazy is I think I want to echo your answer you just gave, which is that 20 years ago, I would have said yes. Actually, longer than 20 years. Before the invention of television, they were happier there. Now that they see TV, and this is with most third world countries, they see what Europe, they see what America is, and they think, oh, I don't have enough because they have more. They're driving the Lambos. All I have is a, Hyundai or whatever. But
They're lucky.
But if they're lucky, right? But like, as a general populace, I would say yes, because I mean, at the end of the day, happiness is a choice, which can sound cliche, but it's like you can be happy with a lot of small and basic, simple things if you choose to see them that way. It's all in your perspective. And I think that the people that I saw there, they were smiling, they seemed healthy, they seemed happy, but there's always that I wish I had a little bit more because they see that on TV, they see it online, that America has this or Europe has that or whatever. But in general, yes, I think that problem is even worse here in the US. I think it's even worse that people on social media, for example, see that everybody else has these perfect lives because that's what the people post, right? I have a perfect life and look at my perfect life. And so they feel like their life isn't good enough because that's not how their life is every second of every day. It's like that in third world countries as well. But I would say as a general, if I had to draw a baseline marker, yes, I would say the people in the Philippines, in my experience from what I just saw, I was there for 10 days, not a long time.
Right.
I only saw 3 or 4 cities, so I didn't cover the whole place. But I would say that, yeah, in general, I mean, it's just like, life is simpler. It's almost like taking that 20-year trip back into the past. Like life was a little bit simpler. It's a little bit more basic. Like it's a little bit, more nostalgic, I guess you could say. But,
do you think people in the Philippines, that in certain areas have less? Do you think they're more spiritually in tune? Maybe
in most third world countries, I think they are. Yeah, and the Philippines is the same. I think so. I think that anywhere that there's more suffering in the world, people pray more for deliverance and hope and better futures, and that delivering of hope, that prayer, that connection to something higher to say, I want more, makes them more spiritually in tune, I believe.
Have you ever like recently the last? I know you travel a lot more, and that's one of the things that I think it's amazing that you've traveled all over the world. But have you ever went 10 days? You go to a forest or someplace off grid, disengaged from your phone, disengaged from civilization. Have you ever like really just let it all go?
Well, this is exactly what I was about to bring up about that and I was far from perfect, but when I was in the Philippines, or there's been a couple trips over the last year or two where in today's world, I mean, I think it's like $12, $10 to $15 for you to use data in a foreign country, right?
Got it.
But what I did when I was there, for the most part, not every day, but for the most part, is we would have hotel Wi-Fi in the morning. I'd check my emails, calls, text, whatever I needed to do. When I left the hotel and I could have turned on my roaming data, I chose to leave it in airplane mode. So I had access to a camera for memories.
Good choice.
But I left it in airplane mode for most of the day. And then I would get on it again at night, and I would check whatever calls, emails, texts, whatever. And what I realized was two things. Number one, I was way happier during the day because I wasn't always, what I realized is all those texts that I felt like I always needed to answer could be answered 5 hours from now, and the world wouldn't burn and crash and die. So in the moment, it allowed me to enjoy the moment more. But number two,
less anxiety,
less pressure, less I gotta cater to everyone else texting me right now means I gotta text them back right now. They don't.
That's because they expect it. They expect it right now. They
expect it,
and we expect to deliver it because that's just because we can.
Mm-hmm. And that's the thing is I felt less stress, less anxiety, less pressure because of that, having it on airplane mode. And then what I also realized was when I did turn on like the Wi-Fi at night and I did answer everything, I was just like, you know what, the stuff that I did, like I was more present during the day. I felt happier being able to engage and indulge in the now, but also at night when I would play catch up on those things, it really didn't take me that much longer. And this is what I realized was when we have things constantly,
you were more focused.
I was more focused. And when I have little texts and emails hitting the phone consistently all throughout the day, it feels like I can never turn off work, right? Yeah. Whereas when I compartmentalize it and I say, when I leave this hotel at 10 a.m., I'm not coming back till 8 p.m. And in between there, I'm not answering a single text or email or anything. It allowed me to realize, when I get back at 8 p.m. and I go till 9, I can really speed run through those emails and texts. And I can really like bam, 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 bam. I don't have to be a little bit working every hour of every day. I can just compartmentalize it a little bit better and have some better balance. So obviously you get back to the States and you get caught up in the rat race again, which I already have. And I haven't even been back like a full week yet. But my point is, for a little bit of time, it gives me a little bit of a break when I come back. I'm like, okay, I can just not look at the phone. Like sometimes I'll go walk the dog and leave my phone in the house, which is like a foreign thought. But I'm like, you know what? The world is not going to burn if I do that. Let me just take 30 minutes and walk the dog.
Yes, it will. Don't bullshit yourself. Of course it will.
So that is funny. Tell me this. Do you have any bad habits that if you had to build a business off of one of your bad habits that for example, like I'm really bad at staying up too late. I probably could figure out some kind of business I could build off of not going to sleep when I probably should. Do you have anything
habits,
like that?
Well, I wouldn't call this a bad habit, but like cars, I guess. There was a point in time, in my life where I just wasn't spending money wisely due to my passion for cars. So I bought numerous cars that I probably shouldn't have bought at the same time, but I did anyway.
Okay.
So speeding, it's a really bad habit. I speed more than I probably should have. It's been better lately, much better. My latest car has chilled me out a little bit.
So what do you think? What would a business be that you would start up based on
business,
your bad habit of speeding?
My bad habit. There's more. There's more. I don't really have many bad habits. God, I'm thinking about it.
That's good. Hey, speeding. If speeding is your worst habit, that's pretty good.
I think the worst habit I've probably had the past at least 2 years is probably speeding.
Okay,
it's probably speeding.
There's plenty of worse habits than that. So
it depends.
What do you think? What's the
solution
to that?
If I could start a business with that bad habit, I'd probably open a racetrack. To let people like me get out of their system.
Yeah,
so that we don't have to get it out of. We don't have to get it out of our system on on George Bush
There you go.
on other highways.
On the actual freeway.
I mean, when I was a kid, I don't know what it was about me, but ever since I was 5, 6, 7 years old, like I've always just cars have just somehow been a passion of mine. Just the idea of just a badass car, the fact that you can travel to different places. You can get you to from point A to point B in fun style. I look at it like a piece of art. And I had kids. I had popped out. My wife popped out a few kids. And I let go of that little car passion I had back when I was in my early 20s.
Okay.
And then I landed my hands on an E92 BMW M3. I still have that car. You've seen that car.
Yeah.
Old school BMW, old school V8 motor.
Yeah.
I got I got exhaust on it. I mean, I redid the rod bearings. It's got the competition package. I've got carbon fiber plenum where it sounds like a gem. Doesn't matter. But when I got that car, like that ignited that passion again. That just love of vehicles, the love of the art of a powerful vehicle. It sparked it again. And that car, which I still have today, I'll never sell it because that car, it made me buy another car and another car and another car and another car and another car. And that it's a bad habit. It's a bad habit, because if you're not careful, it's very dangerous.
Yeah.
It's a dangerous habit
Driving
because
fast. Yeah.
you've gotta know your car, you gotta know your surroundings, but it's just it's a
That goes in the wall.
what's going on over there?
It's kind of weird.
It's
No.
it's there. You ever watch well, of course everybody watched what is it called? Avatar.
Yeah.
The dude gets on the avatar gets on the bird
Yeah.
and they take the tail and they
Connect to
they
it.
connect to it. So you get in the right car, as a man that loves cars. That's kind of what it feels like. You just become a part of the vehicle. You just understand the vehicle. And you don't have to go on a vacation. You could go 30 minutes and something about that experience brings you to peace.
That is true.
And I can't go to a vacation. I got 3 kids. I don't have time to go to, wherever. It doesn't work that way. But with the right vehicle, for those 30 minutes where you got to drive from point A to point B, you take your little metaphorical tail and it becomes more than just a car ride. It's like it's a spiritual experience in a way.
Yeah. That is poetic, and that I 100%.
So poetic.
Yeah, I see what you're talking about. Tell the audience what you told me. And by the way, this isn't the first time I've heard this, but I liked it when you brought it up again because it was the right timing for me. I was lucky when I first started my career making big boy money that the people that I was working with taught me you should invest in assets, not liabilities. Like I didn't spend my first big check on a car and et cetera. But what happened was that mindset of like save, invest, kind of put off for the future got to a point where I also wasn't spending money on things that I enjoy now as much, right? I was traveling a lot and having fun that way, but I wasn't having the right balance. So, but after our conversation, I was like, okay, it's time for a car that I love to drive, like one that I just get in and I'm like this, like you said, I connect to it, and this is like I feel like stoked to drive to Walmart even. So tell me, give the audience a little bit the little mini speech you gave me about it being your steed and that whole thing. Maybe this inspires someone else to get the car they want.
I said it was like the stallion, I mean, come on, you show up to a business meeting, show up in you show up to a bunch of. It's not even about what they perceive you as; it's about what you perceive yourself as.
100%.
I don't give a shit what people. Honestly, any car I've ever bought, people could believe it or not. I've never bought a car for other people to point at me and be like, "Oh, look at that dude's car." Just like, there are many people buy houses, not for themselves. They don't buy it for themselves. They buy it for their friends to look at them and be like, "Oh, look at this guy. Look at this guy's house." And look, I'm not going to judge. Maybe I am judging, but I'm really trying not to judge. But I don't think that's correct. I mean, I don't agree with that, even though most people do that. they'll go buy a house, and you know they buy it so that their friends and family or whatever could point at that house and be like, oh, look what he did. Look at his house. Maybe he doesn't care about it, but he cares what other people think about it. Same
Makes
thing with
sense.
cars. A lot of people buy cars for other people to point at those cars and say like, oh man, look at that guy and look at that car. Um, I don't know. I'm not like that. I mean, maybe I am. I mean, maybe I'm just lying to myself, right? Who the fuck knows? I don't think I am. I hope I'm not. But it's a stallion. You know, back in the day, think about it. You know, you're a knight. You know, you think of if we're gonna imagine ourselves as some kind of
Hero or
a
something.
hero, you know, might as well be a hero. You don't want to be some kind of, peasant bitch, right? You might as well be the knight. I mean, you know, you might as well, and backtrack. My philosophy of what a man should be, in my opinion, and my opinion is that every man needs to, number one, try to take care of himself. Needs to just do the basic things to maintain physical strength and mental strength. They need to. Every man needs to just know basic martial arts, basic gun handling skills, just the most basic of the basic, just in case. You know,
100%.
you never know. Again, a lot of people might say that this is a little bit extreme, but if I were running this country, I would make that shit mandatory.
Of course.
I would.
I mean, it's been mandatory for survival for 10,000 years.
I wouldn't send, man. I wouldn't send like men to the military. I wouldn't send 18-year-old boys to the military to go find wars. They're they're bullshit wars anyway. I would never do that. But it's deeper than that. It's for their own good. I would send men, 18-year-old boys, to boot camp for a month or two to learn basic martial arts, basic gun handling skills, basic make your bed, don't be a fuck up. Just the most basic of the basics. So, if you're going to envision yourself as somebody, if you already have that choice, you might as well be a knight on a big badass horse, that's strong, that's brave, so, out in the real world, if you can help it, that's your horse is your badass car. And maybe you don't care about it, if you don't care about it, you don't care about it. But, that car, the sound of the motor when you click on, when you turn it on, you press the button, you sometimes, old school ones, you gotta still, you gotta turn the key. That roar, the sound, the vibration, it ignites you. It really does.
It's true.
It really ignites you. Once you get into a car that does that to you, you can't go back. It's
true.
not the same. You just can't go back. You just feel so good about it.
It's true.
And it's not about what your neighbor says or what your friends say. It's got to be genuine. You got to know yourself. It's got to be genuine.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
really does.
Yeah, I don't know what it is. I think it's probably because I liked Batman when I was little, but I just think like a matte blacked out Lambo, like
yeah.
a Evo or SVJ, matte blacked
Yeah.
out, just looks like a Batmobile. It doesn't matter if a Ferrari's faster or a McLaren could beat it in a 0 to 60. Like, it doesn't matter those things. In my brain, Lambo is the sexiest car. So like when I get in a Lamborghini, it's like
They're so uncomfortable, brother.
that's the thing is
Oh
people can
my
tell
God.
me
I
all
signed
the
one
things,
a week
right?
ago. Oh, it sounded so good.
But that's the
You're
thing is
sitting over here, you're just like, oh my God.
that's the thing. And that's what I'm saying is everybody has like their favorite, for whatever reason in my head, like you could offer me a $10 million Bugatti and I would take the Lambo over it because in my head,
question.
the Lambo is the car.
Okay,
right?
so if you could get any car, let's say 250 or under, you'd get a Lambo.
I'm not enough of a car guy to know even what I would get. I mean, my GLE 63S Coupe is pretty dope for an SUV, but it's not a sports car.
Right.
The next
That's
thing
a
that I'll get
badass
will be a
SUV.
sports car, and it will be a Lambo, and it will probably be an SVJ. I'm not gonna lie. I mean, there's some like one of one or some like more unique Lambos that are out there that I think are pretty cool, but something like a matte blacked out SVJ I think is cool. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I like the whole blacked out version, the whole Batman.
Spider or something. Anyway, yeah. I mean, I'm not like a super big car guy, but I've always thought Lamborghinis were like, just because Porsches, Ferraris, these different cars, some of the models look cool, some don't.
Have
But
you
I've
ever
never
driven
seen.
a GT3?
I haven't.
bro, you got to drive a GT3.
I've just never seen in
It's
my,
it doesn't look anything special. It's a spiritual moment.
and that's the thing is I've never
It,
seen a bad looking Lambo in my, like what I like
it's not
about
even
a
about the
car.
looks. Like fuck the looks.
Just the
You've
sound
got to.
and the
It's
feel.
not even about the sound. The GT. I had a GT3. I've had one for a year and a half. Um, that that thing is insane.
Just the handling or what
It's
about
not
it?
even. It's not even the fastest car. I mean, that Avatar moment. You know,
Yeah.
from that movie,
Yeah.
you get on your bird or whatever the
Yeah.
hell it is.
Yeah.
That's that GT3. That thing is. It's like it becomes a part of you. Like it's engineered to the T. I mean, I've had the GTR. I've had the Z06 vet. The vets are great. The new CA vets. I know Julio has one. I used to have a Stingray, and I got a Z06. Um, they're I can't say anything bad about them. They're phenomenal. But I mean, if you go into the car's DNA, I mean, if you go past 0 to 60, past that, and if you go into that just spiritual moment, I mean, you've got to. I mean, I've driven all sorts of cars. I've driven Lambos and McLarens, and I've driven them all. You know, not that I owned them all. I've owned a good amount of badass cars, but I've driven pretty much all of them because it's just what I do.
But the GT3 is.
But the GT3, I mean the GTR, I mean the GTR Special too. That thing is insane. Remember that blue GTR? But the GT3, like that car is like it's like a part of you. It's ridiculous how Porsche did that.
Huh.
They're absolutely
never driven
insane.
one.
If you ever drive a GT3, you might change your mind about that Lambo. I'm telling you.
Really?
Like that thing is
Not good.
that thing is insane. It just it,
Yeah, maybe I'll have to. I have a buddy in Cali that's a big Porsche guy, so maybe I'll have to just.
I'm not even a big Porsche guy. Yeah, it's not
No,
even
I'm saying like he could probably hook me up and I could go.
I like Porsche, but the GT3 and specifically the fact that a vehicle revs to 9,000 RPMs naturally, it does something to you. Like everything about it. It's a scaffold. It really is. It's I'm not. This isn't a Porsche commercial.
Yeah, but it could be. I mean,
I'm not a big Porsche guy, but I had a 991.2 GT3 with a 4.0 liter engine. And yeah, it was a special car. It was by far the most spiritual experience ever driving a car, any car.
Well, and this is what you told me that really kind of pushed me over the edge. It's a funny thing, but it's a valid point. Is you said, imagine you're like a knight. You're just a complete stud. You got all the best armor, the swords, everything. And you ride into the battle camp or you ride into battle on a donkey.
On a donkey. What's wrong with donkeys, man? I mean,
Nothing wrong with a good, faithful little
don't like
burro,
donkeys?
but it's like, it's different when you're this big jack knight and you ride in on a donkey versus on the flip side, you could have the biggest, baddest, meanest Clydesdale of a Frisian huge horse. And you're just like this tiny little scrawny peasant boy with like a broom, right?
You've got to be well-rounded. You know, you've got to let go of your bad habits. And you've got to try to be the best version of yourself. So as a man, again, you've got to take care of your body. You've got to work out. I mean, I'm not saying be at the gym 24/7. I don't have time to be at the gym. But I was up at 5:30 today training. You know, do I have time only once a week to do it? You know, to twice? Yeah, but I'm still going to force myself to do it. Did I want to do it? Shit, no, I didn't want to do it. I did it anyway. Because I know as a man, that's what I got to do. I got to train. You know, are there plenty of friends that I have that'll kick my ass? Absolutely. I know guys that have done martial arts for 20 plus years. But when you ask yourself, you know, what do I need to do to be stronger and smarter and better than the average man? And you just have to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Part of that is taking care of yourself. You've got to, you know, you're at home, before you leave the house, knock out 40 push-ups, you know? You've got some dumbbells here. It takes you 30 seconds. Just knock out a set. Knock out a set. Go do some squats. It's going to take you a minute. So for the people that don't do anything at all, you don't have to, you know, they say, I don't have time. Bullshit. It's not that you don't have time. You just don't want to do it. You don't really need a lot of time. You need 2 minutes a day, 3 minutes a day, and that'll change your life.
Oh, you do 2 minutes of burpees? Trust me, you're chilling.
Go look at yourself now and look at yourself in the next year or two. After doing 2 minutes of burpees per day or 2 minutes of anything per day, I'm telling you, you're going to be happy with what you see. You really will. And then the food you eat, you know, you can't eat shit. Can we eat a little bit of shit? I mean, sure, right? It's around us. Nothing we could do
But
about
it's
it.
not daily Wingstop.
But you can't, yeah, you can't do that shit. You've got to be conscious of what you put in your body. You can't poison yourself. You can't poison your kids. Um, you know, you just got to spend your time wisely. You got to take care of yourself. You got to be a warrior in your own way. You got to be a warrior. You can't just be a slob. You just can't do it, in my opinion. You gotta, and we're all warriors in our own way. Some people have different interpretations of it, but part of it, it's a balanced approach, I think.
100%. Yeah, I loved that. I mean, because okay, so one of my heroes, I don't know, I'll ask you in a second if you have any heroes, but one of my like heroes that I always did like school projects on and that I always think about is Alexander the Great. I think he's like
Okay.
one of the coolest characters in history, and I could go off for an hour about all the different reasons why, not just in battle and military and strategy and things like that, but a lot of other things. But anyway, my whole point is his horse called Bucephalus is like one of the most famous horses in all of military history
Why
as
was
well.
this horse so famous?
Well, a couple of reasons. Number one, so his father, Alexander the Great's father, Philip II, was the king of Macedon before him. And, Macedon's right above Greece. And Greece was always known for all these warring states. You had Corinth and Athens, and you had the Spartans, and you had like all these different, right? And so Macedon, it was just kind of this area of the world where there was always these strong and great armies, and they were always battling for control. His father comes in and he kind of starts to conquer all these areas around and starts to finally kind of start unifying them. And Alexander is now, I don't want to get this part wrong. I think he was like 8 years old, maybe 12 years old at the oldest. But he's a young dude.
Damn.
They bring in this horse, this horse that was bred for battle, huge beast of a horse. And it was just it couldn't be tamed. It was a stallion. And then it was supposed to be a gift for the king, his father, but they were all the workers and the horse tamers, like they were trying to hold it down and train it. And it just was spooking and kicking and bucking. No one could ride this horse. And the king was about to be like, what are you insulting me with this thing? Like, yeah, it's a beast, it's a monster, but like, if it's not rideable, then what am I going to do with it? Right. So they were almost so pissed. They were going to have the horse killed. They were going to be like, get rid of this horse. Like it's useless because it can't be tamed. And Alexander's like, wait. Dad, if I can tame that horse.
Take it easy.
He's like, if I can ride it, can I keep it? And he's like, okay, two things. First off, you've just seen all my men try and ride this horse. It's unrideable. Number two, you're like 8 years old, 10 years old, whatever. On top of that, like, why do you think you have a chance if they don't? Plus, I don't want you to get hurt if you go out there. And he's like, trust me, like, can I try? And he's like, I mean, if you want to try, you can try. Right. He goes out there, and what he noticed that no one else noticed was that the horse was scared of its shadow. When it would see its shadow, it would see this huge, big, dark, scary thing, and it would buck and it would be scared. So what Alexander did, he grabbed the rope, he turned the horse towards facing the sun where it couldn't see its shadow, and then he hopped on and just rode it calmly and cleanly out of the arena.
He found a life hack.
He was smarter, right? That's one of the things I liked about him. Is like he saw things from a young age. He like saw things that people didn't notice. But to everyone else's like they didn't see that. All they saw was this dude hop on a horse that no one else could tame and just ride it on out. And they're like, what the heck is it? So my point is, Bucephalus was already this huge, amazing war horse that was like physically a beast. And everyone was like, wow, it's fit for a king, right? They delivered
it to the king.
What
color was the horse today?
Huh?
It was like a black horse?
It was a black horse, yeah. Imagine a big black Frisian horse with the tail and so it was a gift for the king. That's how much of a beast it was.
You ever ridden a horse before?
Yeah, my family were like cattle farmers, horse. So we have horses at my family's house.
I've ridden it. It's majestical.
That's what it's
majestical.
There's something again like guttural, like visceral in men to like ride horses.
My father told me this. He was like, when you ride a horse, for a couple of hours, he was like, it gives you its energy. Like it's such a powerful animal. Like the fact that
there's Avatar.
That animal, huh?
The Avatar thing.
The Avatar thing. No, seriously, it is. Like you ride the horse, like you even like you kind of. It's nothing but muscle. It eats its grass, and it's such a smart animal. I mean, that thing is way stronger than you.
Yeah,
and it's an animal. I mean, it's a different species, but it figures it out. Like it knows that it's going where you tell it to go. It's just I think that and this might sound corny. But I've been hearing a lot of things about grounding. Like you put your feet on the ground, and a lot of people, they wear shoes all the time, and you don't have the energy.
No, grounding is real for sure.
Grounding is real, and there's other technological advances that have done this, but part of that is horse riding, where you get to sit on top of a monster, just this beast of an animal that has dated back thousands and thousands of years, and what it does to your body and your spirit, and what how it ignites you in a way. You know, it's a magical moment, and it's something that most 99.99999% of men will never feel that. Back in the day, if you go through, if you go to the just the itty gritty of what made real men, they were able to tame a horse. They were able to. They didn't have any cars. That was their transportation. They were able to just make relationships with these animals.
So Bucephalus, the horse, the crazy thing, like, I mean, when he died, when that horse was killed in battle after multiple battles, multiple wounds and whatnot, I'm pretty sure Alexander the Great, this can be fact checked, but I'm pretty sure he held like a 3-day ceasefire. Like, they didn't do battle, they didn't celebrate and parade and party. Like, they held like a 3-day funeral where he kind of like shut down the government and the army, and he was just like, we're just gonna mourn the horse. Like, that's how epic the horses of old times were. Like, they were as famous as the riders.
How did the other side react to that? Like, he decided because of his horse that he didn't want to battle. What did the other side? Did they
If
not,
I remember,
did they not take advantage of that?
this is the thing. If and this is where the detail on this exact my memory on this exact detail is a little bit fuzzy. If he did a ceasefire, I feel like if they're not attacking us, it's kind of like in World War II or World War I, where they were in the trenches and they had the Christmas Day they celebrated together, the Germans and the French and whatever. I think it's kind of a thing where they're like, okay, well, they're not attacking us. Maybe we will take the chance to heal our wounded too for 3 days.
Right.
If it wasn't in the middle of battle, because my memory might not be serving me accurately, if it wasn't in the middle of the battle, it was like, if he was just ruling a kingdom, he just told them, like, no one's working, like, we're just having a funeral, more in 3 days of mourning. My point is, there was that even the great and renowned Chinese warlord Lu Bu, who they have in the video games, the Dynasty Warriors. He had a horse called Red Hair, and he was called the Flying General. He's one of the most famous warriors and generals of like the 2nd century. This Chinese warlord, and he had this horse called the Red Hair because it was so fast that people were like, it was like a rabbit, but it was red colored. And my whole point in saying all this stuff is, for a long time, the horses of the stallions, the steeds of the knights and the warriors were almost as famous as they were. Yeah. And so you translated it in today, and then you get people that are just content driving their Prius to work. It's like
the knights wouldn't be who they were without their horses.
Yeah,
of course. You could be the most badass knight, but if you screw up and pick the wrong horse, I mean, you're not so much of a badass knight because your horse sucks.
You have imagine a cavalry of donkeys.
Exactly. I mean, it's got to work out perfectly. Like, you could be the most badass knight in the world, but without a horse being equally as badass as you, I mean, what are you gonna do? What are you gonna do?
It doesn't mean anything. And that's one thing that I think you're spot on with, is that you said that it's not just about what the horse does and looks like to other people, but it's how it makes you feel when you pull up to that business meeting and you hop out of your what did you say, GT3. You know what you pulled up in, and that way it makes you feel.
Today it's an M5 competition, but that's
whatever. You're jumping out of something sexy. You're jumping out of something that means business.
Nice. It's
you're not jumping
nice.
out of a Prius when you pull up, right?
Yeah, it's nice. It's not a Prius.
So, I agree with all of that. So anyway, this is our selling point to you guys, the viewers. Go buy that car you've been thinking about. If it makes you feel that way, if it spiritually attaches to you like the Avatar, then get it.
I got one of my clients. I helped sell a house about 7-8 months ago, and one of his best friends, his whole life, he's all about saving money, and he never in his whole life would ever buy anything out of the box. It's all about investments, and saving money. Anyway, he was in his 60s. He found out he had cancer. And his whole life, he wanted to get a 68 Camaro, one of those, old school badass Camaros.
Mm-hmm.
And he only agreed to get that car when he had about a year, when he found out he had about a year left to live.
Wow.
And I always like to joke around and say, like, they don't make... they don't make GT3s or GTRs or whatever you look at. They don't make, clouds aren't very fun to drive on. They're pretty slow, pretty boring.
Sure.
So while you're on this earth, they got these badass machines, and you can get it. If you could get it and it won't hurt you, and it'll help you work harder, it'll make you feel good about yourself. It'll give you a little bit of adrenaline. Do it.
Yeah.
Do it. Don't. This poor guy wanted it his whole life. And he only got it when he got diagnosed with cancer. Like I don't want anybody to go through that.
It's true. My mom's
Do it
side,
while you can.
my mom's side, her last name is French, and she speaks French. And her whole life, she would tell me, "Oh, I can't wait. One day I'm going to go to Paris. Going to go to Paris." I mean, I think she's like 57 now, and she just went to Paris for the first time, and it was like one of those European cruises where you stop at a bunch of places,
Oh,
and they
yeah.
went to Paris for like 6 hours. And I was like, Mom, you know that Paris is like
More than 6 hours long.
it's like an $800 round trip. And she almost didn't. If she didn't go on that cruise, she probably still wouldn't have gone to Paris. And I'm like, Mom, it's not worth
6
on
hours
your
in Paris.
deathbed.
What a tease in Paris. What a tease, though.
That's what I'm saying.
What a
So I think I'm gonna
tease.
take her. I'm gonna
That's-
find a excuse, like a birthday, to take her
You
back
should take
because
her. You should take her.
little
Mr.
things
Wo-
like that.
Mr. World Traveler, you got to take her to Paris.
It's worth it. You know, it's worth those things. Obviously, be smart with your money, invest, etc. But it's like, but it's
don't-
like live a little. You know.
Don't, you know, I know people that all they do is save and save and save and save. And then, you know, I mean, sure, I could commend that, but like, what's
For
the
what?
point? What's
Yeah.
the point?
What are you
Live-
saving for? Eventually,
Live a
at
little
some
bit. It doesn't
point.
have to be a car. It could be anything that, I mean, what's the point?
Mhm.
What's the point, you know?
Mhm.
I don't know.
It's true.
There's got to be a balance behind it.
It's
at the end of
true.
the day.
Okay, this is my next question for you. So, say you could master any skill instantly. It could be any skill. It could be useful. It could be just funny. What skill would you master instantly if you could?
I could, it's kind of like the Matrix, where, you know, you get a program and then in 30 seconds and you just know how to.
Wow.
So is that what you're saying? Like,
Anything? Yeah, you can
so
master any skill
if
you
I
want.
can do like the Matrix, you know, where I could program any skill in 30 seconds, I'd probably learn how to fly one of those like F-16 airplanes.
Ooh, wow,
You know, where you can just get on there and just be
that's like a car on steroids.
I mean,
because
yeah.
it's way faster and flies.
I mean, yeah, it's just like substantially faster. I mean, I'd also be able to, you know, if you could fly one of those, it means you could fly like, you know, little Boeings and little Cessnas and stuff like that. You can, you know, wake up one morning and be like, you know, I'm bored. I want to go to New York, you know, and kind of jump on your own plane without having to go to American Airlines and 6-7 hours, you know, you're in New York.
Yeah.
Or wherever. Just the idea of like, it's kind of like a car. You know, you just jump in the car and you can really get anywhere you want to go, but you just get there faster. And the fact that you're up in the air, you're at peace. I mean, you're in the clouds. Just that tranquility, I
It's
guess.
peaceful. Yeah.
So, but I mean, if I'm already getting that gift granted, I might as well learn the most badass airplane. Which
That's
is
true.
probably one of those F-16 fighter pilots I would, you know.
If you're gonna fly one, fly.
So if I'm going to get a 30-second life hack, you know, it's going to be flying. Like if I were to, you know, if you were to ask the same question and say, you know, if you were to die and you could be any kind of animal, what would you be? You'd probably be a bird.
Yeah.
Probably, but not like any, not
Like an eagle.
Not like a bitch bird, like a pigeon. I don't want to be a fucking pigeon. Or,
Yeah.
Or
You'd be
an eagle, maybe a falcon.
Yeah.
Hawk.
Yeah.
You know, I'd go out there just
Vicious.
be out there like a predator eagle. You know, go out there and
Yeah.
travel the world.
Fast, vicious. Yeah.
Fast, vicious, you know, looking for my prey.
And that's the thing is, you're
How
that,
cool would that be, man? Being a
that'd be
freaking
sweet.
bird.
That would be so. And people have asked me that. They're like, if you could be any animal, I'm like bald eagle every time.
Oh,
it just,
God, yeah.
Every
Like
time I'm like king of the sky.
Not
bro.
even an eagle, just any kind of badass bird. Not a fucking parrot. I don't want to be a parrot.
No, yeah, no.
No parrots, no pigeons.
I'd
none
be
of
a robin. Like, why? What's the point of that? Like, eat worms?
like
no.
a cool bird. Or if I could learn any skill, I'd be a badass plane.
Yeah,
Or-
F-16. Well, because imagine this, knowing you and everything that you've said, imagine the feeling you feel when you plug into a, like us, the skyline.
Oh.
Now you turn on a jet and that thing's going
Oh.
700 miles an hour down the
Oh,
runway.
Jesus,
Oh,
man.
you probably would pass out. You'd probably, it'd be too much
I probably
euphoria.
would pass out.
Just the roar of that engine. Oh my gosh.
The sound of a jet engine. We've got my office is in Addison. We have Addison Airport. So I drive by after lunch. You know, I always go through there. I roll the windows down, and I want to listen to the propeller planes. I mean, you know,
Do they have private jets there? Or?
They got some really nice jets. So I just
Really?
the sound of that thing up close and personal, just that explosion going on in that jet engine, the power, just the sheer human innovation that goes into those machines. It's just it's mesmerizing. I mean, I love it. Just the
That's
sound of
crazy.
it, man. It just wakes me up.
I didn't even know they had jets over at that
Yeah,
airport.
they got jets. They got some badass jets.
Wow.
Big jets.
Dang.
So
I thought,
if I ever have a private airline, it'll probably Skyline Airline.
really? There you
I
go.
think it's Skyline, really?
Yeah,
It's a Skyline
yeah.
Airline.
I thought that for some reason, maybe I just didn't know, but I thought that all the private, like the rich people like that, flew into Love Field because of Highland Park and all that. But
Madison Airport, no, they've got some
no.
serious yeah, airplanes there. But
Wow.
yeah, I would be I would learn how to fly I learned how to fly a badass piece of airplane.
Okay, tell me this. If you had to explain success to a 5-year-old, how would you explain it? What would you define success as to a kid?
Happiness. Well, let me ask you something. Like, what does an average 5-year-old want to do when they grow up? Just an average 5-year-old. What'd you want to do when you grow up? When you were a 5-year-old?
I was 5. Probably either be Batman or be like a firefighter, or I don't even remember. Fighter. Actually, I did want to be a fighter jet pilot at one point. I do remember that. I don't know. Yeah, I did just
I mean,
be
kind of
James
typical
Bond.
5-year-old, right?
Random. I don't know.
I
Something.
mean, how are you not Batman now? I mean, you got a cool car. You know how to fight. You probably have a couple guns, right? I'm sure.
That's true. Actually,
I'm sure you got a couple guns.
Guess,
I mean, you know.
not billionaire, but yeah, the rest
I
of
mean,
it, yeah.
hey, you know,
We're on the path, you know.
You'll get there. You know, you'll get there. Billionaire at heart. You know, that still counts, right? So in your own way, you are Batman.
That's crazy. Never thought of that.
You know, but a 5-year-old, you think about what does a 5-year-old want to be? You know, I've wanted to be a race car driver. I've always wanted to be a race car driver. I've always wanted to be a superhero. At 5, I never wanted to do real estate. I didn't even know what real estate was. But Arnold Schwarzenegger, you know, the Terminator, that was always like my little superhero role model. I mean, I thought he was just so badass. Go out there, just get down, man.
Invincible.
Get down, you know, just, you know. Not Terminator 1, though. He was a little shithead. He was a bad guy. Terminator 2, like, he was cool. See, John Connor.
Okay.
But with that, to lead up to that question, you ask a 5-year-old what they want to be, and then you ask a 30-year-old what they want to be, or a 40-year-old, doesn't matter. Usually the answer is going to be pretty, like, it's going to be way off.
Oh, yeah.
But does it have to be? You know, does it have to be? Does that spark that a 5-year-old child have to go away at the age of 30, the age of 40? It doesn't have to go away. It's to probably take that spark that you have as a kid and keep it. Don't let it go away, because that spark's what's going to get you through life happier. So to chase happiness, and by chasing happiness, I think by keeping that spark from childhood to adulthood and fulfilling your passions, whatever they are, will make you a happier person, which will make you a more successful person, a healthier person, and just a better person in all aspects. So you know, don't let go of that childhood subconscious fantasy that you've had.
That's crazy.
Deep down inside, I mean, it's still there. You just have to dig it out of you. If you wanted to be Batman, I mean, deep down inside of you, you know, there's parts of Batman that that you still want to see yourself as in adulthood, you know.
100%.
And you know, and you kind of look like Batman.
Honestly,
I mean, I could see that.
For this podcast, I pretty much wear all black every day.
Yeah.
I've like purposely try and find other clothes in my closet that aren't all black, so that every time I'm on the podcast, I'm not it. But other than that, my car's getting wrapped right now, matte black.
Matte black, not just black, matte black.
Matte black
Matte
to
black.
match the Batmobile. Like, I don't even, that's crazy.
It's subconscious. I know you're not trying to, like, obviously you're.
But I am fulfilling my little Batman
Are
dream.
you going to wear the mask, you know, with the cape?
That might be the next step.
When I hear those Amber Alerts, sometimes I want to go put on the cape and
There
be
you
like,
go.
honey,
I
hold my
got
beer,
it.
you know.
Hey, I got it. Watch this.
Watch this.
Yeah.
But you know what I figured out though? The kids we were when we were like 4, 5, 6, 7, especially as boys, as men, we get older, like, you know, a part of us, you know, a lot of men let that part, that childish part of them go. But if you really, really like self-reflect and just dig into who you are as a child, like what was the core of you even before you were an adult, you're still a part of that. That's still part of you. And when you stop chasing it, it's a dangerous thing. You've got to always chase it, I think. You know, you've got to go back to that. It's hard to do. It's really easy to say. It's really hard to do. But cars for me, like cars have always been just a passion of mine, even from childhood. I always collect these little cars. My parents were broke, we couldn't afford them, so I would collect these little cars all the time. And to me, like I remembered every single one of them that I had. To this day, I remember every little Matchbox car I had, like it was a real car. But it just it was just a passion, So adults today should remember the core of who they were as kids. I think.
Wow, that's very powerful. Yeah, I mean, if you asked a 30-year-old today, like, what does success mean? Most likely, at least if it's a male, it's gonna have something to do with money for sure. Career, job, money, and not chasing being Batman or driving the fancy car or the dream that you had when you were a kid. Yeah,
Yeah.
100%. I agree with that. Wow,
I mean,
that's great advice though.
you've got to be a well-rounded man. I mean, I think all men, well-rounded men, you've got to know basic combat skills, basic, um, just
Protection
there
stuff.
just has to be just basic abilities that you've got to be able to grasp, to fulfill your maximum duty as a man, with or without kids, with or without a wife. It doesn't matter. I'm just saying, as a man in today's society or in any society, um, the prerequisite needs to be certain things, and that's lost. That's not the case today. You know, it's different, but
It's true. Just technology and everything, I think, has made people, men especially, soft.
men especially, yeah.
That's crazy. Well, tell me this. Imagine that money didn't exist at all. What would you spend your free time doing besides driving really fast and fancy cars and flying jets?
Flying jets is just a fantasy. Fantasy, flying.
You have money. You could put this question two ways. Money doesn't exist at all, or like you have $1 million in your account every day deposited. So like money is no
Oh, like
money.
if I bought Bitcoin
You don't have to work. Like yeah, exactly.
20
Money
years ago,
money
yeah,
is no factor. What would you spend your free time doing?
I'd probably, if money was no factor at all, it's tough to answer because we're programmed to constantly make money. You've got to reprogram your whole idea of who you are and how you are just programmed to live your life.
You got to zoom way
You've
out.
got to, I mean, you've got to zoom out. Like you've got to take the magnifying glass. You've got to like really, really take it back a few notches because we're programmed from the age of, from the age of 15, 16. I started my first job. I mean, I was programmed. You want something, you got to work for it. I busted my ass. I'm 37 now. Um, I'm just programmed to bust my ass to make money. I don't even know life any other way but to constantly think about what do I got to do then what do I have to do to make money. I wake up outside of my little morning ritual, my daily routine, once I turn on 10 o'clock, 9:30, 10 o'clock hits, it's grind time. And grind time ends at about 8:30, 9 o'clock at night, you know. So from 10 to about 8, 9 o'clock, Monday through Friday, I'm programmed to make actions that eventually, lead to making money. So in order to answer that question, you've got to completely reprogram
It's
your
true.
your DNA.
It's true.
It's the same thing as saying, let me ask you a question. Imagine you're 4,000 years ago, right? 5,000, doesn't
Okay.
matter.
Okay.
You're in the jungle or wherever wherever you live. I mean,
Mhm.
you know, you obviously didn't have a job, right? There was no Bitcoin, there was
Yeah.
no real estate and cars or anything like that. You know, your goal was to go be a warrior. Your goal was to go and hunt.
That's it.
Your goal was
Yeah.
to go and, fuck some shit up so that you can provide for your family, your wife, your wives. I'm sure you had multiple wives,
Maybe. Yeah. You had
at that
multiple.
point in time, that's how it worked.
Mhm.
So if you were asked that question 4 or 5 thousand years ago, that if you were just gifted all the animals, everything in the world, where you had to just take the very core of your DNA and you stop being a hunter, you stop being a warrior, you stop being what you've been programmed to be your whole life, what would you be? How would you answer that? Just like it's hard to answer right now, 3, 4 thousand years ago, you're like, look, you don't have to hunt for food anymore. Here's a Walmart, and you got unlimited food right there. you'd be like, hold on a second, that's kind of boring. Like,
Yeah, what do I do with my time?
I don't want to just go pick up the food at, the meat section.
Yeah, like I like hunting
I
mammoths.
kind of like it, It's like, what would you, what's next? Like, what do you do next? What do you come up with next? Um, how would you answer that?
Yeah, it causes a whole rewiring. It does.
You have to rewire yourself completely. So like to answer the question, in order for me to be able to answer that question for you, I've got to rewire myself. It's deep thought. I mean,
That is deep.
It's you got to.
And I asked it for that reason because it is a hard thought.
It's a great question.
It
but
is hard.
It's impossible to answer. You've got to completely reprogram. I mean, everything.
I ask people, because I've thought of like, sometimes we'll joke around around a campfire or just like chatting whatever with buddies on a weekend or whatever. And was thinking, okay, like if I hit the lottery tomorrow, I have a buddy that gambles like a lot, and I was just kind of like, if I was like, what if you buy one of those tickets at this gas station and you hit $250 million in your account next week? Like, what would you do?
And that's easy. I could answer that easily.
Most people
I buy a bunch of houses or real estate.
Because because you're that.
I know
right?
I'd buy some
in that mindset.
Badass investment properties. I'd hand pick them, commercial, residential. I'd hand freaking pick them, and I'd put someone there to manage them, and they would all appreciate an asset, and they would all obviously grow, and they would pay me back. I mean,
so that's the thing is you'd take the 250, let's say 250 million, you put 200.
I would donate a lot. I mean, once you hit that kind of money, I mean, I'd love to help people. It's not just once you hit a point to where you're so well off. I mean,
give it back.
You just got to give it back.
Yeah.
At that point in time, you just got to give it back. We're not there yet.
Yeah.
Hopefully we will be. But at that point in time, like you've got more than you could live, more than you can even comprehend.
Lifetime, yeah.
Just give it back.
That's the thing is I asked, friends like that, or I've had this thought or this conversation before, and like you hit the jackpot for 250 million, like what do you do next? And for most people, I feel like, of course, they're like, oh, pay off credit cards or student loans or whatever I have. But then a lot of people, the answer is travel. They say I would travel a lot, right? Which is a great thing. Like everyone wants to see the world, cultures, food
for the soul,
all that kind of stuff, right? And then my follow up question to that is always like, well, what after that? So let's say you've seen the world now. Now what? Well, I buy a nice car and a mansion for me and my family, and then what? And then, like you said, it's really hard for people to answer after that because they've never pulled themselves out of that rat race to like think about that.
I'll tell you what other people feel, like other people in that position. I'm talking about the Bill Gates, the heavy politicians of the world. I don't want to say the Donald Trumps or not. I mean, I don't know. I don't know what's in his mind. I know what kind of policies he has, but I'm talking about the world leaders. Once they reach a point of infinite money, infinite power, just infinite. I mean, the
resources.
Resources. I mean, there's really there's what else are you going to achieve? What gives you that? What gives you that high? What gives you that that adrenaline rush? Similar as if you would have won $250 million. They don't need to win that much money. In my opinion, it's just be able to control people. The ability to control the masses, the ability to be able to rule, to influence. Sometimes it's genuine and it's good and it's wholesome. Sometimes it's not, and it's never unwholesome from the beginning. I think it's usually genuine in the beginning, but once you get enough power, that genuine nature transcends. It changes. It naturally does. I mean, I think anybody is going to go through that. So I think for anyone that's in that same position, the ultimate high is to be able to rule and to control, and to have people, to be able to control people, to be able to be in the history books, to be able to be a name that kids are going to talk about in 500 years, whether for a good reason or a bad reason. But I think at a point in time, it's deeper than money.
Oh, 100%.
It's much cheaper than money.
100%. That's one of my favorite things from, I don't know if you, the movie Troy with Brad Pitt and
Oh
Achilles and
yeah,
all that.
yeah,
But, you know, when he goes to fight the guy and right in the beginning and the little kid's like, dude, you can't beat that guy. Like, he's crazy. Like,
yeah,
I would be too scared to fight him. And then he says, that's why no one will remember your name. You know,
yeah,
he's like, I don't, it's about legacy. It's about
yeah.
memory. It's about control and power and something that's going to survive past when I'm gone kind of thing. Like you said, yeah, I think once you get past that echelon of money matters, then that's really all that's left is control and influence. And
Yeah.
that's true. Um,
Yeah, at a point in time, like you have all the money in the world, it doesn't mean anything anymore.
it's true.
It's just you're used to it. It doesn't mean shit. You want something deeper than that, and whether it's fueled by good or evil or your interior motives or whatever, I mean, that's not for us to sit and judge right now. I mean, even though we can, um, but I don't want to say it becomes more of a spiritual quest because maybe it doesn't, but it's deeper than the financial quest that most people are on today.
It's
Um,
true.
yeah.
Valid. What, do you have any weird hobbies? Any weird habits or hobbies or anything that
Um,
are like unique? You drive
the
fast cars, you do stuff like that, but you have anything that's kind of like funny about you?
speaking of cars, like the thing that kind of calms me down at night, um, I'll watch like car videos.
Okay.
I listen to like exhaust sounds. Um, so I engage in real estate all day.
Some YouTube stuff.
So I'll go to YouTube. I'll go look up a car. I'll go compare 0 to 60 times. I'll compare horsepower, compare quarter mile times. I'll go look at aftermarket car parts. I'll go listen to different exhaust notes. I'll sit there for 15, 20 minutes on YouTube, just mess like car
Your
videos.
way to decompress.
And for some reason, I don't know why, to me, just these damn car videos, they just somehow distract me to the point to where I'm good. Like
Really?
finally, finally, just let go of the day. So that's probably the kind of the weirdest hobby. But I've got a ritual. I've got a daily ritual. In the morning, like I've got to do my stretches. I've got to do my 10-minute stretches. I've got to do I try to do a little 5-minute exercise after my stretches. So I've got like a 15-minute workout routine. I got to take my vitamins, take the dog for a walk, the kids to school, check my email. Like I've got my little morning ritual. And at night, I take the dog for a walk and I have, again, call it another ritual. I'll, um, if it's at night, I reflect on the day. Um, what did I do good? What did I do bad? What could I have done better? What do I need to do tomorrow? Um, what what have I conquered about today? What are my successes? What are my failures?
Hmm.
Every day, I try to spend about 10 minutes, usually when I walk outside with the dog, and ask myself it's like a report card for the day.
Okay.
And then I go and then before I get home, I create a battleground in my mind. Like I'm like, okay, what am I going to do tomorrow? What's the plan tomorrow? So part of kind of a weird habit, I guess, I have each day is pre-planned by about 24 to 48 hours. So I usually know every hour, at least 24 hours in advance. I know every single hour and minute and second, not second maybe, but hour of where I'm going to be. So in my mind, I'm plotting. I'm thinking. I have three-dimensional uh, thoughts of self-reflection of today and planning for tomorrow.
That's a great
So
habit.
I guess maybe it is a great habit, but it it's just something I do every day, except for Saturday and Sunday. I don't do that shit on Saturday, Sunday.
That's good though. I mean,
You
I mean, that's why that's what's made you a successful entrepreneur is that in those spare times where most people would be on their phone watching baseball while they walk the dog, you're meditating, reflecting on what did I do good and bad today? What am I going to do tomorrow? It's those little things I think that make a big
But
difference.
I talk to myself and I ask myself, this month, these past 2 months, have I been spending too much time working and haven't spent enough time with my kids? Have I spent because I've got 3 kids? Have I spent too much time with one of my kids? A one-on-one, and
Mm,
have I neglected my other 2 kids?
wow.
Have I spent too much time with all 3 kids in my whole family? Have I neglected my wife?
Mm.
Have I not had enough me and my wife time? Have I neglected time with my dog? Have I been spending so much time with my family where I see my business is starting to suffer a little bit, where I see my clients starting to get pissed off at me. I'm constantly, through the end of the day, I always look back at the day, at the week, at the month. At the end of the year, I always look back at the year. I always self-reflect back, and I ask myself, what are my accomplishments? What are my setbacks? What could I do better? What did I do good? Um, what do I need to recalibrate? Is there a relationship? Am I not spending enough time with my parents? Is there a certain friend that needs me that I've neglected to call and check on? Um, and sometimes when you care a lot, when you're a passionate person, it's hard because there's a lot of people you care about. You know? And so it's kind of a conversation with yourself.
Mm.
I don't go and listen to music. I don't go and I'll never spend 4 hours watching a sitcom or a TV show. I'll give myself 1.5 hours to watch TV. Other than that, from 7 a.m. to 10:30 at night, it's productivity. Either mentally, even if I'm walking the dog, in my mind, there's something productive going on.
Mm.
So I've programmed myself, I guess, to be productive, to be even if it's not money making. I mean, I'm talking about, even this today, we're spending time together. This is productive. At the end of the day, uh, in 20, 30 years, 40 years, in 100 years, we have the internet now. My kids, my grandkids could see this video
That's true.
and be like, holy shit, like this is what my great great grandfather was about. So
Wow.
even if you don't have more than 50 followers in the next year, eventually it's going to be more and more and more. The internet, this video is not going to go anywhere.
It's true.
But in 50 years, in 100 years, in 200 years, the fact that somebody's able to sit and listen to this and be like, holy shit, like, how cool would it be? Think about it, man. Think about it. If you could listen to a podcast from your great grandpa or your great great grandpa from 100 years ago for 2 hours, just shooting the shit about their life today,
Wow.
how cool would that be?
Oh,
Just
I would watch
randomly?
every episode.
I would watch every episode
Yeah.
right now. And what we're doing today is going to empower the kids I have and the kids you will eventually have
Mm.
to do that. So
That's really cool. Now I gotta triple save this video on every cloud storage and
yeah,
hard drive. That's really deep. And one thing that I think that you said that was really, really powerful is that, again, this is probably what makes you such a well-rounded individual, is that you think about, have I spent enough time with my kids, not just focus on running an entire business where I have 25 real estate deals on the table just today alone. Not only kids, each kid individually, not only kids, wife, not only wife, dog. Have I spent enough time on myself, preparing
yeah.
myself as a man? What about this? What about, like, so many, the large majority of, for you, it's normal because you've done that and you've trained yourself. But for the
I've trained
majority of
myself,
people, they
right?
don't think like that, right?
You've got to you get 3 kids, 5 kids, 20 kids, doesn't matter. You got to ask yourself, you've got to give each individual kid their time. And then when you've got 2 boys, you've got to give you and the 2 boys, just the dad and the boys. And there's got to be the dad and the individual boy. And there's got to be you and the daughter individually. And it's got to be you and all the kids individually. And it's got to be you and the whole family individually. And it's got to be you and your wife alone. So even though there's a there's relationships, you've got to be able to feed. You've got to be able to just give fuel to each aspect of the relationship separately.
That's true.
If you don't, it's dangerous. You have to do it.
The
You
relationship.
got to figure it
will-
out.
Yeah. And I this is one concept that I actually made like an Instagram post about this a couple weeks ago, but like, one of my first podcast guests that I had, we talked about work-life balance.
Mm-hmm.
And he said that he doesn't think of it as much as balance as he does like a harmony, because there's no such thing as like a perfect balance in life. And that got me to think and reflect a little bit. And I started thinking of, like those old, just like a simple balance, like a scale, and you add a little weight here and this goes up.
What do you call it? The seesaw?
Something, I don't know, whatever you like, the old Egyptian, you add like a,
Who was your first guest?
his name was Mihir. He was the guy that sold more solar accounts than any rep
Mihir,
ever.
I remember.
Yeah,
I met him.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, I think you've met him.
met
So,
him
yeah, at the dinner thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
So my point is, it got me thinking about it, and I was like, yeah, you know what? There's no such thing as perfect like work life, fitness, health balance, because
You're never going to achieve the balance. It's not possible.
it's like a waterbed. Like the weight itself isn't stagnant. So it's like the emphasis you need to put on family sometimes is a little bit more and work a little less. Sometimes you need to emphasize work a little more, family a little less. Sometimes you need to emphasize your health a little more and your hobbies a little less.
Yep.
Sometimes you haven't done your hobby in a month and you're losing your sense of, self and your sanity. You need to go on that 30-minute drive in your car and just get it out of your system.
You do.
So it's like the life
You're never going to
priorities,
reach the balance. Nobody will ever reach the
like
balance.
perfect
And
equilibrium.
if they think they've reached equilibrium, they're full of shit. It's not
Yeah,
possible.
it's not
It's
possible.
scientifically, mathematically not possible.
Yeah.
It just doesn't work that way.
The best you can do is just keep adapting
The
to
best you can do is just keep trying. The whole point of it, like the only way to this, I guess, what is it called, the seesaw? The only way for it to be exactly even is for two people to be the exact same weight,
Yeah.
and they just don't move. There's no wind. It doesn't work. Life doesn't work
Even
that
if they
way.
were the same way, there's probably
The only
wind,
way
there's probably,
life is stagnant is if you're not doing shit,
or you're
or
dead.
if you're dead. That's it.
Yeah.
If life is just, if you're not a vegetable or not dead, life isn't going to be stagnant. So the whole point is every day to balance part of your life. You're never going to get it. The whole point is to try to get it. It's the journey. It's just a journey.
It's valid. It's valid.
Facts.
Tell me a little bit about the politics. Yeah, the stuff that you were mentioning earlier. Some of the stuff that you wanted to talk about, the politics stuff.
What about the politics? Like,
I don't know what's even going on right now. So today we are April. No, what are we? May 6th. And what's going on in politics today is that India just launched bombs at Pakistan,
I
the
saw
nuke
that.
thing.
I
We
saw
got
that.
Trump in office. JD Vance was just in India actually like a week ago, so I don't know what's going on with that and the bombs and all that. But anyways, what is Trump doing nowadays? What's one of the latest things he's done? I think he's been doing some health things with RFK,
Yeah.
so that people can't be tested like how they were tested with the COVID vaccine stuff. But
Well,
what
the-
was it?
the-
Immigration stuff is hot right now. What topics are hot? I think
so
immigration's
this
hot.
is, I think, the best way to look at what's happening to the United States of America. Right now, it's a tough time.
Oh, it
It's not.
definitely
It's
is.
not a great time right now.
Definitely,
It's not. I know a lot of people want to hear that it's Trump's fault. I don't think it's Trump's fault. I mean, personally, is he a saint? No, he's not a saint. But he's also not stupid. You know, he's not. He's definitely not stupid. He knows. He can see. He's got the ability to see things about 3 steps ahead of most people. Um, You've been through surgery before. You had shoulder surgery,
Mhm.
right? How long did it take you to recover?
fully recover.
Like, I mean, like, how long was the surgery?
Oh, the surgery itself was a few hours, and it took me. Like when you say recover, like what do you
Like,
mean?
I mean, rehab, recover, and then like,
Months.
at what point in time did it get back to a point to where you were better, like to where there was no more pain? And at
Mhm.
what point in time were you better than you were before the surgery, like to where you healed?
Yeah. So without pain was probably like 5 months, and before it was like better than. I mean, I had the surgery not like 10 months ago, and it's probably only been a month and a half to 2 months that I've been fully like I can do everything.
So I'm
So
talking.
really, like 9 months. I mean,
So
yeah,
it took you 9 months.
took a while. And I'm talking about I'm actively rehabbing. I'm exercising all the time. I'm stretching.
So,
like,
so there was something wrong with your body, right?
Mhm.
Obviously, they had to operate on you. They had to, you know, tear into your flesh.
Mhm.
They had to sew you back up, and they had to rehab you.
Mhm.
And only now, almost a year later, are
Mhm.
you getting back to. So this is kind of what's happening to our country right now, in my
Mhm.
opinion.
Mhm.
Um, Based on everything that's been happening the past year, um, do I agree with the tariffs? I mean, some of them, yeah, I do. I mean, you listen to some of Trump's videos 30 years ago, and he talks about America getting ripped off. He says the same shit today as he did 30 years ago. You could go look that up. I mean, I'm not making that shit up. Look,
It's
look, look,
true.
look it up. I mean, it's there. I'm saying it because it's there. Um, i- if you look at oh gosh, I mean, you don't have to go very far. I mean, just this country's obviously taken a really, really bad turn. The
Mhm.
amount of money we've sent to places and just all over the world, billions, hundreds of billions of dollars. I'm not going to mention any names. I don't want to tickle, I don't want to like press any buns, I guess. But there was a lot of wasteful spending, right? There was a lot of, I mean, a lot. There was 100% a lot of fraud, more than you could even imagine. You've got to be retarded not to accept that. I mean, it is what it is.
Mm-hmm.
So, do I agree with everything that's happening today? No, I don't. But do I think that what's happening today is does it currently hurt the economy? Yeah, it does. I mean, it's not good. It's not good. But let's dig further. Do I think of it like a surgery? I mean, it's a surgery. It's probably necessary. I mean,
100%.
I can see about 3 to 4 steps ahead of what they're doing right now, and it is hurting a lot of industries right now. It is hurting some people. There's a lot of unpopularity with some of this stuff, but I think it is necessary.
100%.
I think it's 100% necessary because the United States of America, what's happening right now is there was a surgery performed, and maybe it still is being performed, and the rehab process is going to take another year or so.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe I'm wrong. I hope I'm not, but maybe I am. I'm not. I'm not.
I think, yeah, I agree with
And
you.
I think in the next year we're really going to be able to see like what they're doing. Like, is this really did it work? And if it didn't, then it didn't. I think it'll work.
I mean, it's better than the direction we were heading.
Oh, we were
least.
heading a really bad direction.
Yeah. And I think that was obvious to everybody.
It was a real bad direction. I mean, I'm not talking Republican and Democrat here. I mean,
yeah, just
I've
as
never
a
been a
country.
fanatic to any religious party. I'm not to this point. I'm not I think George Bush, for example, he was a Republican. I mean, his politics were more crooked than I mean, Dick Cheney. I mean, he was a war Mongol. I mean, he made so much money on unnecessary wars. Dick Cheney, George Bush. I mean, the Republicans, right? They destroyed our country. Barack Obama was much better than them, but he made a lot of mistakes. I mean, Joe Biden. I mean, holy shit. I mean, don't even get me started with that. I mean, I don't even know how that happened. At first, I didn't really support Trump. At first, I'm like, what the fuck is he doing here? Like, Trump, I mean, you gotta be kidding me. But eventually, like, I actually started like looking at some of his policies, like as a businessman, like from logical, like business standpoints, I'm like, some of this shit makes actual sense. And what he's doing right now, it's very unpopular. I get it. Some people are like, but he might be right. He might be right. We'll
Yeah.
see. He might be
Yeah,
right.
it's true. I kind of see it like as a flood or a forest fire. Like the forest fire is not fun when it's happening. It's destructive, but it needs to happen to clear out all the old stuff so the new stuff can, and eventually, like you said, fast forward some time. There's a reason for it. It's clean, it's better, it's newer, but it has to happen. There was just too much. I don't know. I mean, and I'm 32. I haven't been alive for countless elections, but the elections I have been above 18 for and kind of paid attention to the politics for, I haven't seen this big of a sway of people that have jumped from one party to the other.
Yeah.
As much as I did see people jumping from Democratic / Biden's Kamala supporting to Trump, not because they liked Republicans, not because they liked Trump, because they were just purely like, the direction we're going right now is going to burn us. Like, we can't keep going this way. Stuff's too expensive. The immigration thing is out of control, which means the crime thing is spiking through the roof. Like I mean, everything, the wars, the needless, there was just countless things. The tragedy of how we pulled out of Afghanistan, the stuff going on with Ukraine and Russia. There was just like thing after thing after thing after thing where people were like, if we have another 4 years of this, we can't live in this country anymore. We got to move. It was bad.
It was bad. It was really bad. The country was heading the wrong direction without a doubt. It's really bad what's happening right now. Like, having to dismantle the whole freaking system. It's such an uncomfortable process. It's such an inconvenient process.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to tear up a lot of industries. They're going to get better, but it's just it has to.
It was needed. Yeah,
it's probably needed. It's surgery. The country. There was a torn tendon. There was a cancer. We call it whatever you want to call it.
yeah.
In order to get rid of that, you've got to operate. And when you operate, you're gonna go through rehab. We're going through I don't know how long it's going to take,
And it
but
could get worse before it gets better.
it's
Even.
no, it is going to get worse before it gets
Yeah.
better, but it will
Yeah.
get better. It eventually will get better. I mean, you know, there's a lot of good ideas that they've come up with. I think, the gold visas,
Yeah.
um,
Yeah.
the gold. It's very very smart. There's a lot of things that are just the media's not going to talk about it. At least one part of the media is not going to talk about it. There's a lot of things that are just they make
They make
sense.
sense.
They make
Did
sense.
you hear that
And
thing they just came out with? I think a couple days ago about paying people to deport themselves. Did you hear about
I
that?
did hear about
Where they're
that.
like, if you get on a plane and you fly back to your country, we will pay for the plane, and when you get there, we'll give you $1,000 cash because the math that they did, they're like, it costs us an average of $15,000 to pay the staff that it takes to go out and hunt these people down, find them, get them on a plane, ship them back. If we can just buy a $300 to $800 ticket back to their country and give them $1,000, we're saving money as a country. We'd rather pay them just to leave.
Yeah,
Like, that's great.
yeah.
They're trying anything at this point to try and like balance it all out. And I mean, everyone's parents at some point were immigrants to this country. My parents, or I think 5 generations back, my family came from Europe. So it's like none of us are fully native here, for forever. But my point is, I think it's especially those people that had come here illegally in the last few years, especially the ones that were violent criminals, were the ones that they're really
Yeah.
trying to like
I
get
mean,
out.
my uncle's a cop in New York, for example. I mean, he's been on the force for 25 years. And,
Wow.
I mean, they've noticed a humongous difference. I mean, I've got family in Queens. It's like crime has skyrocketed.
Yeah.
Levels that nobody's ever seen before. To where it's different. That's not normal.
I mean, when you grab someone from
And
the third world and you bring them here, not only that, but when they get here, they can't get a job because they're illegal. They don't have a good place to live. Like, they're suffering. All they really know is fight to survive. What are they going to do? They're going to rob something. They're going to steal food. They're going to knife
Yeah.
somebody. Like, it's not natural.
And,
That's
and you
what's
know
gonna
and you know
happen.
what's messed up, like the media, for example, they're always going to talk about, like, now or even before Trump was in office, they're going to talk about the illegal immigration, but nobody ever talks about what about the legal immigration. What about the fact that you got over 1 million people that immigrated to the United States legally?
Mhm.
Legally,
Mhm.
they went through the process.
Yeah.
I was one of those people.
Yeah, yeah,
In
yeah.
when I got here in 1991,
Yeah.
I was a legal immigrant. I
Yeah.
wasn't. We were lucky. Yeah, it was a lottery. We talked about it at the beginning of the podcast, but legal immigration. Why doesn't that statistic come out? How many people go through the system legally
For
that's going to be
sure.
eventually producers and taxpayers
For sure.
and people that benefit society?
Because that's the thing. We're all immigrants at some point. Like, whether it's this generation or you go back a few, like, none of us were born like, none of us are from here,
When
right?
you go anywhere you go, there's borders, and pretty much
Yeah.
all the major countries are going to have borders.
Uh-huh.
I mean, it's just you gotta have some kind of you're not just going to leave your door open.
It's true.
You know,
There's a reason. Yeah. And
you
that's
gotta you want to be friendly and you want to be hospitable. I mean, you're supposed to be that way, but you've got to kind of cross check on who's coming in there. You can't
true.
you can't just let anybody in there.
I mean, and that's the thing that I think that those people that are really pro immigration, if you said that, you said, let's open the front door and anyone that wants can come in, no one would be like, cool, I'm down with that. Or the people that say they are.
I'm pro immigration.
That's the thing.
I love immigration.
Of
I mean,
course.
I'm an immigrant myself.
Yeah.
I wasn't born in America. I don't even know what I am. I'm like a Soviet, like I said, a Soviet mutt.
Yeah. Yeah.
And immigration is a beautiful thing, but it's gotta be a process.
Let's have rules and things. Because if you
gotta be
said
a
open the front
process.
door and anyone can come in, there's some people that'd be like, okay, sure, welcome the world, until the guy that comes in stabs your kid. And then you're like, wait. I don't want just anyone coming in. Let's at least do some kind of screening. And the thing is, I mean, we have friends that we know that their parents were illegal immigrants, but they came here, they contributed to society,
Yep.
they've built businesses, they have, they're good contributing members to society. Just maybe the means they had to get here for, like maybe the visa line was too long, or they couldn't afford, or they had to, because of a traumatic event in their home country, they had to flee here and they got here illegally. Like, me personally, I would never hate on that person for leaving what they felt like was a worse situation to come here.
You can't.
It's just, the big kicker for me at least comes when it's somebody that is coming to a new place and saying, I'm going to assimilate and I'm going to try and adopt into that culture and at least try and be a contributing member, versus let me come into this new culture, try and mess everything up and make it like the old culture I was from. And while I'm there, destroy everything in my path, steal, rob, kill, rape. Those people gotta, like, it's like, we can't put
the problem is, like, out of the people, like even the illegal people that cross the border, I'm sure 500 of those, like, 499 of those people are probably good, hardworking
That's the
people.
thing. A lot of
And then,
them are.
and then that one person fucks it up for everybody else.
Uh-huh.
And that's the unfortunate side. You got to close the borders for that one person,
Mm-hmm.
and you just screwed up 500 people's chances to get here
Mm-hmm.
because not chance to get here, but just um, it,
Yeah, yeah.
it
I
changes
hear you.
things. It's like we had we have a property management company, so one of my clients that hired us to manage this property because he didn't want to mess with it anymore. He had a family that sold themselves very, very well to get they rented a 2-bedroom townhouse or condo in East Plano. And it was a family. I'm not going to say where they're from, but their family, 3 kids, seemed very sweet, very nice. Eventually, after 3 months, they stopped paying the rent. They stopped paying the rent. There was 3 adults to live there. Stopped paying the rent. They destroyed his apartment. They destroyed it.
Mm.
And he told me, I'm always been so kind-hearted to immigrants, my whole life. And it's like this little situation where I couldn't check their credit, I couldn't find a mechanism to vouch for them. They were undocumented. They just seemed nice. He's like, this family that pretty much tricked me. They tricked him. I mean, it turned out to be a shitbag. I know this whole story. It's a long conversation, but he fooled them.
Mm-hmm.
He's a con artist. He somehow milked the system. Um, Through different sources, we found that out. But um, I got a client that's got an open heart, willing to help anybody. Most people are going to take it and they're going to appreciate it and they're going to do good with that kind of help, like my parents did, like a lot of immigrant parents did. But then because of one family like that, it's going to hurt 1,000 families that somebody like that isn't going to want to trust anymore because of that one screw up.
It's true. And it is a sad part.
That's the sad part.
It
And
is.
it's heartbreaking because now even I look at it, I'm like, do I want to take that risk? I don't want to get my house destroyed.
Exactly.
I don't want to sit there with 6 months I don't want to pay for someone's mortgage.
100%.
That's
It's a hard thing because you're like, do I want to support someone coming from a worse situation to a better one? Of course. Do I want to give someone a better opportunity for their kids to have better school and them to have better jobs and cleaner this and better? Of course, I want to give them, but if there's the risk of them coming and destroying what I have that's sacred to me that I've worked hard for,
yeah.
and that's where it gets tricky.
So it's a fine line, It's
It
a
is
very
hard, very hard.
It's a very fine. It's a very sensitive subject.
Yeah.
It's a hard subject. It's a very fine line, and there's no right and wrong from it. We need immigration,
Of course.
But what we had before, we were just like, all right,
Anyone with
open,
a pulse, come on in.
open the floodgates,
Yeah,
come on
that's
in,
bad.
like.
Well, the thing too about it was, even if it was just that, even if it was just open border, people can come in, I think it wouldn't have been as bad. What we saw was the specific sending of countries of their most violent and terrible criminals to come here. And we know that because as soon as Trump put an end to it, we started shipping back gang members. And not all of them. There were plenty of women and kids and innocent people. But like, there were some countries that we know specifically sent some of their worst people over. And that's where it was like, okay, this is getting too much.
A lot of people compare this to they compare this to, well, how about when World War II happened, and there was all these Jews trying to get out of Nazi penetrated regions, and they were trying to get into other countries. I'm like, okay, first of all, the Nazis were executing little kids.
That's different.
Number one, you don't have anybody here executing a bunch of people just for what they are. It doesn't work that way.
It's not the same.
They're not doing
anymore.
that right now.
Yeah.
And they're not going to do that. That's just not going to happen. And that was happening back then. They were Jewish people executing
being executed,
little babies.
Yeah.
They were killing babies, and they were escaping to other countries that were taking them without any documentation. But historically speaking, at that point in time, they weren't violent criminals. They were legitimately, and today most of them are not violent criminals, but there is a very small part of them which equates to a much bigger part that are.
Yeah.
Which,
it's the hard thing because
it's very hard. And, people compare it to what happened with the Russia-Ukraine war. A lot of Ukrainians have migrated to Poland, for example, to get away from a lot of men, especially because they didn't want to fight the war. They didn't want to die.
I don't
A lot
blame
of
'em.
women because they didn't want to get hit by Russian bombs. You know, and the Polish, Romanians, the Polish, they took them with open arms. They're like, well, look what they're doing. Why can't America do that?
Mm.
Again, you know, there's not a war going on here.
Exactly.
You know?
It's very different.
There's not a conflict equivalent to what happened in World War II.
Yeah.
And the majority of those people there, I mean, yeah, there are bad people. There are bad people everywhere. But it was a
not the
complete.
same.
It was
Yeah.
the arguments that they make today are complete out of context.
Exactly.
They're out of context.
It'd be different if Canada was in a civil war,
Yes.
and they said, "Can we take refugees?" We'd be like, "Yeah, sure, come the refugee." But it's different, and I think another hard thing is like if we had, I don't know how many millions of people came over during the Biden administration, but like all these, I've heard 6 million, I've heard 12 million, I've heard 50 million, however many people came across the borders illegally, and they were flying them in like it wasn't even an accident; it was a purposeful flooding of people to have more voters for the Democratic Party. We know that now. It can be said
100%.
openly. We know that. But I think that if they had flown in all those people and there was almost no raise in crime, that there wouldn't have been as big of a push to push them back out because you're like, okay, some families, women, kids, children, we got some guys that are working age. I don't think there would be that big of a push to like shove them back out if there wasn't an increase in crime, but it was like a disproportionate. If there's a group of 100 immigrants or 100 already existing Americans, the rate of crime in that 100 immigrants that was pumped in here illegally is higher than the existing. And when you have a small town, like some town in Iowa or Missouri, somewhere in the middle of nowhere,
This
Idaho.
what happened in Colorado, for example.
Colorado.
They took over that whole.
Was it Aurora, I think, or whatever?
Yeah, they took
when
over
you
that.
have a small town with not a lot of people and you pump in a ton of immigrants and some of those are violent or bad, that little pop, it's what's happening even today in Ireland. They're just being flooded in with people from the Middle East. And it's like, their culture is going to die. Like if something's not stopped and reversed very, very soon. The African and Middle Eastern people being flooded into Ireland and parts of the UK, they will like their culture will cease to exist just because you have a town of 400 people, like you were talking about back in the day. Like your mom or your family lived on this little farm, and the neighboring farms around you had been in there for generations. So you kind of knew everybody in your little part of the village. Well, now you have a village that has 500 to 2,000 people, and you import 2,000 new immigrants. That completely changes, if not wipes out, the existing population. Like it's like a complete replacement in some areas.
So speaking of that, before we end, let's talk about a little bit of religion.
Okay.
And I don't want to talk about anything religious specifically.
Okay.
But so I got a bachelor's degree in political science at
Nice,
the University of Texas. So
Nice. And in Austin, or were you in the Dallas campus?
Dallas,
Okay,
UTD.
cool.
I wanted to be a lawyer.
Nice.
Things changed. I got into real estate, but one of the I took a class. I forgot the professor's name. I took 2 classes with him. It was political philosophy.
Oh, nice. Okay.
And one of the things that common denominator that we got, I mean, these books were written 3,000 to 4,000 years. I mean, one of them was Xenophon. Moderation equals freedom. He would say that.
I don't think I know what that is.
A lot of it fascinated me, but
Okay.
it talked about religion. And religion, some people say it brings some people more together than it brings them apart. I mean, I don't know. I think the idea of God and a superior being is a beautiful thing. I believe in God. I'm 100% a believer in a higher being. I'm not a religious man. I don't know if I'm spiritual. Maybe I am. Maybe I'm not. I try to be more intuitive, but I'm not very religious. By blood, I'm a mix of like Christian, Jewish. But what my professor taught us from books that were written even before the Bible was that religion was put in place for moral control.
Yeah.
For moral control. That was the selling point of it. For example, if I own a piece of land, right, and you owned a piece of land, we were neighbors, right, and you had 5 wives, I had 6 wives, and I had 5 horses and 10 goats or whatever, and and I wanted to take your shit, all I gotta do is come up there and just kill you.
Yeah.
Like
Get my 5
Like
sons and kill you.
Mark, I know you're a tough guy, right? But all I gotta do
If
is
I can
just,
catch you sleeping, it's
you know,
over.
yeah, exactly. So now, excuse me, but you're 5 wives or whatever is
They're
now going to be
mine.
my 12 wives.
Exactly.
You know, and now your horses and your dog, Cowboy, is a great dog. It's going to be my dog now.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, and that's the way it worked. And that was bad behavior had rewards.
Yeah. It doesn't. Yeah.
There was no consequences. There was no moral consequences. You know, you're not going to, you know,
You don't fear the afterlife.
there was, in contrast, there was not just, there was rewards for bad behavior. But today we call this bad behavior. You know, if I go and murk you, take all your wives, your animals,
That's a reward for
make
you.
your kids my slaves, and your dog Cowboy. You know, now I just 2x'd. I just literally, you know, I just 2x'd the market, just 2x.
Yeah.
So, you know, eventually, you know, they, you know, the leaders of society had to really, really push for what we call today as religion, because I needed to have a consequence for my bad behavior of murking you and taking all your shit. And that's how it came to be. So again, I'm not saying that, you know, based on what you're saying is the infiltration of different cultures within different cultures and they're blending. It's sometimes a good thing when different cultures blend, but sometimes it's a bad thing because it causes the identity to be lost in limbo. And I don't know if that's a good or bad thing. I don't know. I haven't figured that out yet. But
It is true because it's almost it. I think the answer to that could vary by the person, and it also is kind of relative. Because, for example, let's take. I'm going to make something up here, and if I go to the UK, they'll kill me for this saying this. But like, let's take Ireland, predominantly Christian like background, right? Historically, predominantly Christian for the last at least few hundred years. And let's take what's happening today, which is a massive influx of Islamic people, right? I have a lot of great Muslim friends. I'm not saying the majority of Islamic people. I mean, literally, assalamu alaikum, like peace be upon you. They can be very peaceful people, right?
yeah.
Also,
Most of them are.
and most of them are.
Most of the 99% of them are.
Most of them are, right? And
1% always fucks it up.
the 1% that reads that couple verses that says, if you don't believe in Allah, we're going to kill you because he's the only God and you need to believe in our God, whatever. So my point is, you take that same village, you have 400 Catholic Irish people, you import 2,000 Muslims. Now, that, depending on how you look at it, it could go three ways. Number one, the Muslims are going to overrun the Christians and they're either going to kill them or just outbreed them, or they're going to take over their houses. It could be an economic thing. Whatever the case is, those 400 people are basically obsolete, whether it's within a few months or a few generations, doesn't matter. The point is, this town that was Christian for 500 years, within 2 generations is now completely Muslim, basically.
Look,
right?
look at the data just all across Europe, all across, and this is actual data. Fact check it. Fact check it. Whoever's listening to this, fact check it. The amount of Christian and or Jewish residents in predominantly Muslim countries has decreased.
Oh yeah,
to a level of
like less than 1%.
Less than 1%. Yes, but the amount of Muslims in Jewish and or Christian countries has increased by that
skyrocketed,
completely reversed.
Oh yeah.
I'm just gonna mic drop that right there.
It's a true thing. Yeah.
It is what it is. I mean, that's a fact.
And
that is a fact.
It's a true
Period.
fact, 100%. And
That's
this
a
is what I'm
fact.
saying about that small, like Irish town in this case. We could look at it three ways. We could say, number one, the fact that it was overrun from Catholics to now Islamic could be, we could just say that that's nature, and then just the strongest survive. In nature, Darwinism, and like there was more of them. They were more, consolidated and a focused group that had one mission. These are a bunch of farmers scattered around, so nature takes its course and the stronger tribe wins, right? We could say that. We could say that it's really unjust because the Irish Catholics had stake to that claim and they'd had it for generations, and now here's these people coming in and they're taking over, and that's not right, or it's not just, or it's not moral. We could look at it from that lens, or from the lens of, if we take the side of the Muslims that have come in, we could say this was something that's beautiful for them because maybe they came from a war-torn country and they needed to escape, and now they have this green area with lots of pastures and lots of great fertile farmland, and now it's beautiful for them.
Right.
So the tricky part about it is, depending on whose side you want to take, it could be looked at as terrible and a tragedy for the Irish. It could be looked at as great for the Muslims, or it could be just looked at neutrally in black and white as a force of nature. Bigger tribe wins.
Like King Solomon said, there's one side, there's another side, and then there's the truth.
It's in the, yeah, and it's
I'm not a fan. I was never a big fan, even just today. I'm not religious fanatics like, Christian. I don't give a shit. Jewish, Muslim, whatever. any kind of religious fanatics. You know, I don't mind religious people. I think religion's a beautiful thing. I really do. Um, I think it's a good thing. It's a good thing to
It
you know
unifies
it's
people.
it
And
unifies people. It tailors to improve us self worth, a soul, a sense of community. It's mainly good things. But I'm talking religious fanatics.
mm,
I'm talking there's
the
Christian religious,
outliers.
there's
Yeah.
Christian and Catholics and
Oh yeah.
Jewish people that think of themselves as a higher being over anybody else.
Mm-hmm.
And you get to the point of fanaticism,
Mm-hmm.
and it's not just Muslim, it's also Jewish, and
Oh,
it's
there's
also
some in every
Christian,
religion.
and it's
Yeah.
also Catholic, and it's also other religions, whatever they are. And I mean, that's just me personally. Um, I've never understood it. I don't know. I don't want to say I don't respect it, but I never. It's just not my thing. I mean, I don't know. I think they're a little bit loony. You know,
When they get so high that they feel like they're
this
just
fanaticism.
untouchable
It's,
and
it's a sense of,
way better than
you
everyone
lose a
else.
sense of balance. You know,
It's true.
it's like you got to be a little bit more open minded. You know, you've got to. There's so many people in this world. You know,
Mm-hmm.
we're all so different. You know, at the end of the day, our bones look the same. You know, and we all mean well, but
It's true. We all bleed
it's
red, and
religious fanaticism. I mean, it probably. I don't know.
that's what it's one of the most divisive
It
things
is.
in the world is religion. Yeah, which is sad, but it's like I don't want to say it too like shallow. I don't want to make this sound too superficial or shallow, but as a business, like religions are great businesses because like the worst sin you can commit in any religion, and it has to be this way, just like any business, the worst sin you can commit in any religion is leaving that religion or denouncing it. That's the worst sin you can commit in any religion is calling that religion false and leaving it. Because if that wasn't the worst sin, then people would feel free to leave it. That thing as a religion or as a business or as an organization would crumble and fall apart, right?
Well, you know what the best-selling book is of all time is, right?
What the what?
The best-selling book of all time,
The Bible?
the Bible.
Yeah.
Hey, like it's a great book, right?
Yeah.
It's I think it's the best book of all time. I mean, I think that the Bible's got more wisdom than any book, ever. I mean, it really does. But religion sells. I mean, and how do you differentiate between the religious entities that are there for genuine good cause and the ones that are there strictly for money? And I'm not saying Christian. It's nothing to do with a specific religion. In general, I mean, I'm talking in general. Like that one guy with what's his name? The dude. God, I don't even.
What is he from the U.S.?
He's a multimillionaire. He's from the U.S. The
What?
curly hair multimillionaire guy.
Mark Zuckerberg?
No, he's a priest.
Oh, I have no idea.
Whatever, it doesn't matter what his name is.
Okay.
But he's very famous. He's
Okay.
got hundreds of millions of dollars.
Okay. Maybe if I saw his face, I don't know.
Neil, is it Neil? I don't know.
Okay.
I don't remember. Anyway,
Okay.
that's there's stories about him,
Okay.
where, it's
It is a crazy thing because it's one of the most powerful and beautiful, and also one of the most divisive instruments in human history is organized religion.
Do you think it's more, if you had to pick like a 51-49, do you think religion has been more divisive or vice versa? Has it put more people together?
As humanity as a whole, divisive, but in their own areas.
In their own areas.
Inclusive, like India having Hinduism, or the Middle East having Islam,
Yeah.
or the West having Christianity, like has been unifying for them for centuries and centuries in each of those areas. But as a whole, there's been, I think, almost more wars fought over religious stuff than almost anything else. I mean, greed and money and land and girls and whatever, but like religion is up there as one of the most divisive things, I think, in history, as for the humanity as a whole. But in the region, I think it's been one of the most.
You got dudes
inclusive.
willing to blow themselves up for Putang,
In the afterlife.
in a different dimension.
Yeah, bro.
I mean that's some
Different level of
that's a different level of commitment right there.
Yeah.
I mean that's a powerful level of commitment.
And
You're-
well, I was even thinking,
you're willing to do something like that, for
yeah. And this is the thing is, okay, so I lived in Africa for a little bit, you know that.
Yep.
And when I came back, I took a world religions class. I started learning about all these world religions. like officially, because when I lived in Africa, I lived in Central Africa, which the top half of Africa is mostly Islamic. Southern part is mostly colonized by England. By Europe, who are predominantly Christian. So you have mostly Muslim North Africa, mostly Christian Southern Africa, and in between you have a melting pot of kind of both, kind of warring together. And so I was exposed to Christianity and Islamic faiths, as well as all the native religions of like voodoo and all the tribalism and the believing in the trees and the spirits and the waters and all that. So when I was there, I learned all these different religious things, and I was like, when I get home, I want to really study this. So I started studying it, and I mean, I had another podcast with my brother where I talked about this even more, but like it's kind of crazy going back to what you said about the reasons and the ways different religions have started and how they've evolved with time. Like even Christianity has evolved as humanity and technology has evolved, kind of a thing, right?
The core of religion, the core, in my opinion, I mean, you could date back 20,000 years. I don't give a shit how far you date back. The core of all religion, is moral control. Has been moral control. That is the core. When humanity went from a state of war, and a state of war means like,
I can go take you and kill your wives.
We're gonna go take you, your animals. We want your wives, we want your animals, we want your dog, we want everything.
We're just gonna take it.
It's about who's the strongest
Yeah.
at the end of the day, who's the toughest. That's a state of war. That's the state men were in. Men transcended from that state of war to that state of just not at war.
Exactly.
And what caused that? How do we naturally go from wanting to fuck each other up because that's what we just did?
Yeah.
Just like animals do, right?
Survival,
Just like animals. I mean, they hunt each other.
It's a natural instinct.
Like
You have that. I want it. I'm gonna
wolf
take it.
will hunt a rabbit. Animals will kill other animals. That's where people had a state of. It was an animal instinct. The Neanderthals. I mean.
Oh yeah.
At what point did people just stop having that? It's when,
Religion.
there was a consequence for all this bad behavior.
And I think too that's the
moral
reason.
control.
100%. And I think that's the reason why we even have the technological advancements and the societies that we do have now, because there was nothing to, like you said, to tell that guy, just because I can go nuke my neighbors' farms and wives and dogs and everything, doesn't mean I should. Just because I can doesn't mean I should. In fact, maybe it's smarter at a higher thinking level if I don't, but instead I partner with him and 10 other farmers, and all 10 of us get together, and we as a 10, then we go war against those 10 over there and take all of them. Maybe we can think as like a bigger level, bigger scale, right? And when I started doing this world religion studying, one reason I really started doing it is because I wanted to understand why people do what they do today. And to do that, I understood that you need to understand why the reason why people do things they do today is because of the set of beliefs that they have. And so if you go back and you look at, for example, like the Vikings, like my ancestors are Viking. You go back, Norwegian, Danish.
That explains the painting in the bathroom.
Yeah, I got Viking stuff. That whole thing is.
That's your grandfather over there.
There you go. Those are my ancestors, right? What's crazy about their beliefs were they believed that, the whole thing, like if you die in battle, you go to Valhalla and you get to fight with Odin and all that. They believed that like the gods, when they would go into battle, the gods were watching them. And based on how valiantly they fought on the battlefield and how valiantly they died would determine if they could go to heaven or not. Right. So if you get someone, now imagine this group of people sail across the ocean from Norway or from Denmark to England, right? When the Vikings invade England for the first time. Right. This culture believes that the stronger they fight, the more chance they have of going to heaven. This culture, the English people, they invade these monasteries of monks who believe the more peaceful we are and the more we pray to God and forgive our neighbor and turn the other cheek, the more likely we are to go to heaven. You have one group of people that is like, the harder we fight, the more likely we go to heaven. This group says the more we lay down our arms and surrender, the more likely we go to heaven. But no wonder crazy stuff, like there's a crazy chaotic ending to that story because of they act in a way according to what they believe. And so that's, I think, a big thing. If people could just pause and be like, okay, the reason this person is acting this certain way, or this group of people or this nation is acting this way, is because of what they believe. Let's breathe and stop and think before reacting emotionally, and think, why do they believe what they believe? Because if I can understand that, I can understand why they're acting, and maybe we can come to some kind of compromise and accord. But that doesn't happen most times.
Yeah, but there is a right and wrong. I think there is a right and wrong. There is a God. I mean, there is a higher being. I believe that, at least. You don't have to be religious to believe in a higher being. You don't have to believe in a certain religion. You could, or you can't. It doesn't mean, a lot of people that are religious don't really look at the science of it. A lot of people that believe in science don't believe in a God. But why can't there be both? There probably is both. There is a right and wrong. There is a karma. There is a thing such as good luck. There's a thing such as bad luck. Good karma. Curses probably do exist too. You and your ancestors fuck enough shit up. You probably have worse things happen to you. Statistically, it's just there's laws to the universe. I think. I mean, they're unwritten. You can't see them, but synchronicity exists. Love exists. There's things you can't see that just happens, and I think like based on religion, moral control, whatever you want to call it. But then at the end of the day, it goes down to the unwritten laws of the universe, just the universal laws. Universal laws. They're there. They're pretty common sense if you really ask me, but they're pretty simple. But at the end of the day, the civilizations that have and the people, maybe the families, maybe the individuals that have done harm to other people, sooner or later, they're not going to exist very long because the universe will suck them up.
Yeah.
The universe will suck them up. The good people, yeah, they might suffer, but eventually their bloodline will succeed. They'll be okay. The universe has laws. It has to, otherwise we wouldn't be here today.
That's true.
It mathematically it has to have laws because math has laws.
That's true. That is, and I think that's one of the most powerful things of religion is that factor of hope that it gives them. That I know, at least in Christianity, like when we would go to Africa, it would be, look, your life might be hard now. God has a plan. Just endure as much as you can. Whether your life gets better tomorrow or later, or even in the afterlife, like at some point, you're gonna, if you keep being a good person, it's gonna come back to you. Just
you gotta be a good person, but at the same time, you can't let bad people take advantage of you. You've got to also be.
That's true.
You've got to also be a warrior. You've also being a good person is only half the job. You've also got to be able to fight off the. You got to fight off the darkness.
Being humble and being a pussy are not the same thing.
No, it's not.
You can be humble, but being a warrior if you need to be. Versus everyone takes advantage of me, therefore I'm a good guy because I'm humble. That's not. There's people that confuse that. I know people close to me that confuse that.
Look at bullies. I mean, I got a freaking 6th grader. I mean, he's got bullies. At the end of the day, I talk to him about it. I never tell him to fight or that's completely against anything we teach our kids. But at the end of the day, if there's a bully that won't leave you alone, and that means that you can take that into a deeper sense. You're gonna constantly be nice to the bully, and this and this and this. They're going to keep being a bully. They're going to keep taking advantage of you. And it's going to get worse and worse. The second you clock them in the mouth, that bully's going to be your friend.
Yeah, he's like, whoa, okay, wait, never mind.
That's just the way it works.
Yeah.
You got to be nice, but you got to, at the same time, just...
stand your ground.
You got to stand your ground, So we got to have the prerequisite. 1 month. Basic training.
There you go. Hey, I think that would change
every man at the
identity of the country.
Every man, maybe not woman, but every man at the age of 18, if they finish high school, they've got to go. I'm not saying go to the military.
Yeah, but
go
a month
boot camp.
Yeah,
for 1 to 2 months to teach them how to stop being a pussy. Go to boot camp, learn the basic skills of gun handling.
Some fighting,
basic martial arts,
start a fire, like
just the
basic
Boy Scout shit. The basic Boy Scout shit. How much greater would America be today?
Oh my!
How much greater would America be today?
It's true.
Basic shit.
I can't tell you how many campouts I went on when I was 14 that I was freezing out there in a tent and it's raining and I'm like, why did I hike 10 miles up? But now looking back, I'm like, oh, I'm so thankful because there was fun times, but there was also a lot of miserable times during that. But now looking back, I'm like, oh, I can do things that 90% of American boys can't. Like, it's like, we're going soft.
But it's not just that; it's an insurance policy. Like, if you get invaded by another country, we probably won't, But what if we do? At the very least, if they at the very least know that our men are at least somewhat trained. Right now, imagine if every single man in this country was basically just trained on the most basic of the basic. Right now in Ukraine, for example, you know what they're doing in Ukraine?
Hmm.
Men that have never fought a war, men that have never even held a gun before, they're walking on the street on their own. They're getting captured by the Ukrainian army, where they're by themselves.
And
They're
thrown
not.
onto the front lines.
Yeah, they're like, all right, come with us. Like, well, I got a wife and I got a kid. I got a pregnant wife. They don't give a shit.
Yeah, we need
They're gonna
bodies.
be like, you could go say bye. If they're lucky, they get to go say bye to their family.
Wow.
If they're not lucky, they get to get thrown in a van, and they give them 1 month, if they're lucky, of basic training. And countless people I've talked to. I mean, I'm connected to the Russian speaking community. The Ukrainians speak Russian too. 3, 4, 5 days a week, they get shot, they get killed.
Wow.
They don't. I mean, you can't fight a war after a month.
Yeah, no.
So I mean, over here you got people just kidnapping, your own citizens to force them to fight a war. I'm saying we don't have to kidnap anybody. Like, men just need to know the basic aspects of just self-defense. That's what we're bred to do. That's the nature of our being. It's in our DNA. We just lost it. I don't agree with any of that. I don't agree with anything that's going on the other side of the world, but it's horrible. They're doing that. They're forcing them into this battleground. They don't know what they're doing. They've never done any of this, and they're just getting killed instantly.
That's crazy.
I mean, it's absolutely it's tragic. It really is,
Yeah.
and it's happening all the time.
Dang.
So,
Well, let me ask you this on that note. This is the question that I ask all my guests at the very end is one day we will die too. I mean, hopefully we don't have a war here tomorrow, but if we did, I mean, at least you and I know we're at least competent. we hold our ground at least at our own houses. But I'm no John Wick, but I'm not a piddly dip that's gonna go down. I'm not going down in the first round either.
No, you
so anyways, my whole point in saying this is one day though we'll pass, whether it's tomorrow in a car wreck, whether it's 50 years from now. When the day comes for you and you have a funeral, what do you want your legacy to be? What do you want to be said about you at your funeral, or even maybe written on your tombstone? What do you want to be remembered for when your time is up?
Damn. It's a complicated question.
That's deep. It is.
I've always wanted to be a three-dimensional being in a way to where when somebody has a birthday party and they make somebody a birthday cake.
Mm-hmm.
Let's say, for example, a 10-year-old loves
Okay.
basketball. What are they going to do? They're going to make him a basketball birthday cake, right?
Yeah.
Or 8-year-old that loves cars, or that loves Paw Patrol, or whatever else they like. They
Mm-hmm.
make them a cake of their. So your tombstone is essentially could become of what is really you.
Wow. Okay, that's
It's like a
cool.
birthday cake in a way.
Mm.
But I like to see myself as a three-dimensional person. I love my family. I love the people that created me. I love my parents a lot. I respect them. I respect my grandparents that I don't have anymore. I acknowledge the sacrifices that their parents and their parents of their parents made to bring me into this world. I love the business that I'm in, both from a entrepreneurial standpoint and just the fact that I get to help people achieve something important, I think, and I take great passion in that. I really do. I make money on it, obviously, but it's not just about the money. It sounds corny, but give a shit. I really do. Got I got a passion for the people around me, surrounded. I'm blessed. You're one of them too. I mean, I'm blessed to just have been granted just good quality people. Just overall, a lot of good quality people. Overall, like I got quality and quantity all in one. So there's just so many fundamentals. One of the things that I can't talk about right now. I'm blessed about that. Um, my my from from the vehicles to the animals that I was close to. There was just so much you have passion for. You
Mm-hmm.
know, I wish I could put all that on my tombstone. You know,
Wow.
I wish if I had a like, I look at it, the tombstone the same way as I look at a birthday cake. You know, if I had a birthday cake, I mean, I would put all these things on my cake. I wouldn't just put one specific thing.
Yeah.
I
Wow.
like, I like my mixed martial arts. I enjoy that. Um, there's just so many things I enjoy. There's so many things I have passion for in this life, and I'm just so blessed to being alive. So um, probably if I had to break it down to the most important aspect, it would be the family. It would definitely be the family. That's kind of standard. Um, I would somehow uh, put something about the people that have changed my life and the gratitude for the people that helped me get here, and even more gratitude to the people that were here before me. I'd somehow find a way to put that into the mix. But um, there's so much things I have passion for. There's so much three-dimensional just passions I have, that if I could find a way to fit them all in, just to 200 years from now have someone look down and see that you don't have to just be one dimensional. You can fit it all in into one life if you balance it correctly.
Mm.
Um, and maybe
That'd be wild.
that'd be wild.
That would be if you could. Wow. Yeah, you gave me a whole new vision for what a tombstone could be now.
It could be like a
That's
sleeve.
crazy.
It could be like a sleeve, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Even
All
though
your
I never get a
memories.
sleeve, but it'd be like a sleeve, I
All
guess.
your memories on there,
'Cause
like a whole
it doesn't
art
just have to be
collage.
one thing. I mean, there's different aspects of us.
Yeah, because so many tombstones just first name, last name,
Wo-
year
wo-
born,
wo-
year
wo-
dead.
World War II veteran, mother, father, husband, something like that. But that's true. But there's more than that.
A lot more.
There's this whole freaking spiritual human there. There's this
Mm-hmm.
there's this person with desires and passions and life and fire and strength and just just oomph. That's more than just that. And you can walk there from 200 years from now. You'll never see any of that because it's not written on there. And I don't know how you can write it on there. I don't even know how you can portray it on there. But if there was a way, I'd find a way. You know.
I love it.
So
That's a really cool answer, really deep answer. I love that question because every time I get an answer that blows my mind. You know what Julio said?
what do you say?
Julio said that he would put a QR code on there that people could scan and like hear his
I
favorite,
love it. Oh
hear
my,
his favorite song and
I
like
love it.
go
That's a
through.
good idea.
You know,
I've
I'm
heard
like,
people do that
wow.
before.
I never even heard of that.
I've seen people do that before.
And now you're telling me,
Can I
you know,
steal
put,
that? I
put
want
your
a
whole
QR code.
life on there. Wow. Yeah,
That's a good idea. You got like, you know what? I'd have
That's
like my own
crazy.
website.
There you go.
Well, like pictures, my Facebook pictures of the kids.
Wow.
I'd like to give a shout out to, for
For this,
depending
yeah,
depending how old I am.
yeah.
If I'm like 98 years old, I like to give a shout out to my housekeeper for wiping my ass for the last 2 weeks.
There you go. There you go.
You know,
Wow. Yeah,
so
that's
that's a good idea. Thank you, Julio. Hey, my man.
that's true. That yeah, just yeah, one tombstone with first name, last name, born date, and died date is not enough to. That's a whole
Maybe it
life.
was before, but at least to me, it's not enough.
Yeah, it wouldn't do
I've got
justice.
I've got too much. Got too much I still want to accomplish.
That's true. And I thank you for coming on because yeah,
I,
you
I,
I
I've
think.
got one question for you.
Oh, of course. Yeah, go ahead before we
Um,
wrap it up.
if there was a technology out there,
Mm-hmm.
somebody said, Mark, um, here's this technology. We're gonna we're gonna take your soul and your conscious. So you're gonna be you, and we're gonna take a sense of you and we're gonna put it into a robotic body
Yep.
where you can live forever,
Forever.
no death. Your self of you, like
Yeah. How I see. Yeah.
like you.
Yeah. Yeah.
It just won't be your body. It'll just be you, but
In a robot.
in a robot
Mhm.
with a battery like a phone,
Mhm.
and you can replace the battery, but your soul will never leave that robot, and you have the chance to live forever. Right now, you're gonna live maybe 90. You're
Yeah.
maybe
90 years.
I
Max 90. I don't even want to live past that. I don't
90,
want to be in a
you know,
wheelchair my whole.
whatever. It doesn't mean you have to be in a wheelchair, but I'm saying if you had a choice, and let's say somebody told you have to make the decision by the age of 40, so you have some time to either die a natural death or get thrown. You can still move around. You'll just be a robot.
Yeah.
With a
Yeah.
charge yourself and you'll just be alive.
Yeah. Yeah.
The same way, would you take immortality with the ability to self-destruct anytime? You could self-destruct anytime.
The answer to my go ahead. Finish.
How would you answer that?
The answer to that question would be determined by whether so let's say, okay, because I don't even know exactly what happens after we die. I have some theories. I was raised religiously. Like I have some ideas of but it's like any person you ask from any religion will have a completely different answer. So who actually knows? I've never died before. Don't know what happens when I do. If, let's say, you believe in the idea that you die and you could go to a higher place, a different dimension, a higher heaven, whatever you want to, some other place, right? Not that you die and
the blue pill or the red pill.
Exactly. Let's say that you believe that you don't just die and it's game over, turns the lights off, and that's it. If there's something after this, I would choose yes to the robot for living even longer because I'm a very curious person and I just want to see what the future would look like. What would humanity turn into? How would things evolve? But if you're saying like my soul would be trapped in there and I couldn't experience the life after death, then I wouldn't want it. But if I could just basically prolong my life that I have now, just in a robot's body,
right,
and still go on to whatever is after this life, whatever dimension.
So this is with you being able to self-destruct. What if you couldn't self-destruct? What if
I had to stay in that body forever?
You have to stay in that body for at least 1,000 years. Let's say a minimum 1,000 years. Let's say there was somebody else in control of this. You have free will, but you just can't self-destruct. You have 1,000 years, unless it's like
1,000. And this sounds really bad, but because I think that I would, because I'm curious and I would love to live for 1,000 years and just see. I think I would say yes to that as long as I could still, whenever death did come, whether it was in 10 years or 1,000 years, I could still experience what's supposed to be after this life. As long as it wasn't, the caveat is you can either live for 1,000 years, but you get no life after death, or you can die at age 90 in this life, but you can have life after death. I'd take the life after death because I believe that life after death is eternal, and I wouldn't want to trade eternity for a 1,000-year stint inside of a robot. But if I could live another 1,000 on the earth, I'd be very curious to see what humanity is going to turn into. So I would choose that. I would stay.
It would be pretty cool. I was never able to answer that. I asked myself that question, and I'm like, to this day, I don't know what I would do.
The hardest thing for you, I think, compared to me, is you have a wife, kids, people that you would watch grow old and die under you, whereas I don't.
Yeah.
So it's like, that would be the hardest part.
You don't know, but you will.
You will. You've seen those superhero movies though, where they don't age, and then everyone they grow old and they die, and the hero's still the same age. Like that part would be hard, definitely. But my pure curiosity, I am the definition of curiosity killed the cat. Like I want to know everything in the world, and I would love to just basically see humanity in the world just develop and evolve and see what happened to it. The only hard part, maybe by then we're not even living on the earth. We could be in Mars. We could be wherever else. But I would just want to make sure that when I died, I could go to the place that all the other souls went when they died after that. And,
a much bigger population.
Wherever that is.
Than here, whatever that is.
I would want to go there. But yeah, if I could extend my life for 1,000 years just to see what happened, yeah, I would. Yeah, you wouldn't. If you're in a robot, you can't like feel stuff, taste stuff the same. But I don't. I can go with that.
But your awareness is still there.
Yeah, I would love to do that. You don't get cold, you don't get hot. You're just a robot. You can punch through walls because you're metal now. I think there's a lot of cool things that could. It's kind of cool.
RoboCop.
You can't. It'd be there'd be a lot of things that would be weird to adjust to. Like I don't know. Could you feel love if your brain was the same, but your body?
No. You.
So you give someone a metallic hug that's also a robot,
that's just your body. You could feel love. You feel the same thing you feel right now.
That'd be
You feel the same thing you feel right now.
Interesting. Yeah,
nothing changes about
I would say yeah. What would be the downsides? You said you haven't been able to answer that. What would be the downside of staying in a body a little longer?
The only downside I could think of is the fact that you don't know what's on the other side.
That's true.
And I saw something that they did an experiment where they connected a bunch of wires and stuff that I can't even talk about. I don't even know how to explain it. But some guy that was dying allowed a scientist to connect these radioactive just wires to him to see what happens to his soul. And apparently, after about I think 5 minutes or 10 minutes, they were able to track it in a complete different it was like somehow it was in outer space.
What?
I saw it on. I didn't fact check it. It could be complete bullshit. I don't know. I'm just telling you what I heard.
Yeah.
It sounded like it was legit, like it was an actual experiment. And
Wow.
apparently they were able to track those same codes, those
Okay.
same signals from
From his brain, and then also,
from his brain and his soul millions of light years away.
what the heck? Yeah, that's crazy. I mean, that's the
How?
thing.
I don't even
Maybe
know how
that's
that's even
true.
possible. But if you look at just the galaxy, the soul, I mean, just the solar system, it's so big, it doesn't even make any sense.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact that you become a part of all of that eventually, where you go, I mean, it's so, I don't even know what to make of it. It doesn't even, but I think that you probably, if that time comes, where people go to the other side, they probably go to the place they probably came from,
Mm.
whatever that is. I think it's kind of, it makes the most sense.
Yeah.
But what would I do? I'd probably extend it. I could see myself extending it because I'm curious too. Like I want to see what
Yeah.
this shit looks like in the next 500 years.
Yeah.
If I
Think of where we were 500 years ago compared to today. Like I'm like in another
I
500.
think it'd be pretty cool. I could see what kind of cars I could drive. And
Oh, you'd be flying for
dude,
sure.
I'd be
I don't even know
like,
if we'd be driving it
dude,
anymore. Like,
like
what's the point of going on the ground when you could fly the whole
dude,
time?
instead of like M3s that had like F16s, you could just like whoop.
The F-16 would be like the Prius at
Yeah.
that point. Like in 500 years, bro, we'd be
I-
teleporting.
the curiosity, but eventually, I would also want to see. I would also want to join my family.
Exactly. That's the thing. I
would
know.
also
I mean,
wanna-
I shouldn't. I mean, I have definite loved ones here that I would miss because I would outlive them.
Be-
But I mean,
They,
for
the-
1,000 years, I probably would have multiple families. Who knows? I mean, I don't know. I
a,
don't
wi-
know.
a wise man once told me, like your mother, your father, your parents, your kids, brothers, your sisters, even when both you and them leave this earth, you're still together on the other side. That's something that can never change, even
Mm.
when you guys aren't here anymore. That's something that's always is and always will be, is the fact that you guys were related and family, and I think, I deep down, I want to risk all that to maybe be wherever they're at. What, I don't even think it's a day. I don't even know how to call it, but I'd probably eventually risk it. I don't know. That's probably the best answer.
That is a great answer.
Yeah.
I love it. Okay, well, is there anywhere? I mean, maybe you want to keep it private, but is there anywhere for if anyone wanted to contact you, whether it was about fun conversations, whether it's about real estate, anywhere, any emails or socials or anything like that for people to reach out to you? Or
I've got a website, I guess a company website,
okay,
SkylineRealtyDallas.com.
nice.
So we got a company line. Leave a message. Let me know who it is, and it won't go to my phone, but it'll go to a receptionist. And then if deemed worthy,
There you go.
if it's not a spam caller, I'll call back.
Yeah.
So I've got to find a way to filter through the spam callers because we
Yeah.
got a shit ton
Oh,
of
I'm
those.
sure there's a lot of spam.
So that's probably the best way to not give out my private information. Just go on
Cool.
the company website and then SkylineRealtyDallas.com and tell the receptionist, you want to chit chat, and then I'll call you back.
Sounds good.
Sounds good.
Well, thank you, everybody. This has been
thank you.
Rafael,
No,
and
thank you.
we'll catch you for the next episode.
Sounds good. Thank you,
Thank you.
guys.